Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever the fuck you are right now during your day. Beautiful listeners of the Waffle Press Movie Retrospectives. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is my co-host, Matt Garingo.
It's me.
Yeah, I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to put out good vibes. I'm trying to take the first steps into being a better person.
Hey, that sounds like a terrible subtitle for a movie.
It sucks. It's fine. That's totally just like some marketing bullshit. They're like, "Oh, it worked for Spider-Man: Homecoming. People like that cutesy shit." And like, hey, you're not wrong. I liked it too. Look where that led me.
Yeah, it didn't
Did
work.
it work this time?
No, it didn't work at all. Also, like, to me, the thing I was like, oh, homecoming, like high school. So the next could be like graduation or something, or prom night or something, right? Like that.
God,
I
yeah,
thought that was going to be the gimmick, and instead it's like, now
me
you know what
too.
people really responded to? Home, and it's like, no, no, what are you doing?
Well,
Ugh.
because they had to send them to Europe for the tax
Yeah,
credits, and
yeah,
then they could say "far from home." Get it?
I'd call it field trip.
I stand by everything we've talked about. Shit for that movie,
Yeah.
and I double stand by everything else about No Way Home, and I will triple take your stance on No Way Home because that movie's aged like
I
poison
know,
milk.
it's so bad. That was a real shocker. Again, I think it was that thing of like that was like post-pandemic, people are back in the theaters like moment. I think that was like a huge thing that led to that getting such a boost, right? It tapped into the zeitgeist in like the worst way possible. And to watch it then like however many months later just on my TV, it was just like ugh, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
total dribble.
Well, because
Um
this is important context actually for how we approached Fantastic Four first steps because I'll fucking say like after Far From Home I was like I'm think I'm done with these Spider-Man movies. God bless Tom Holland and Zendaya, Jacob Batalon, who plays Ned, the greatest Marvel character of all time.
mm,
Um, and like I I'm just not gonna like the routes these go down. And watching No Way Home at home convinced me that was the correct opinion. So when people are getting excited about footage or like set footage from the new one, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it does look cool. I'm not going to be fooled again to
yeah.
watch that in a theater. Like I know. And so before we did this episode, I texted you like, I don't. I'm not really feeling going to the theater to watch this one.
Mm.
Can I just ask you about it?
Yeah,
Like,
we were both kind of in that position of being like we're a little late to date where we are. I got to do my bit. Um, Rimu Endo of Ninja Sanji Ian just announced she was graduating. Okay,
oh my
that's
god.
my bit. I'm not going to talk anymore. Um, uh, there's a big. I'll say this. I'm saving it, but a big thing happened. I was texting Diego about it. A big thing happened in the VTuber space recently, and I promised to save that one. So we'll do that a different episode when the movie might not be as interesting. So anyway, but we were gonna do this just to align with the Fantastic Four movie. We were gonna do all these, but then we were like, I don't know. We don't really have to see first. It's like we were both kind of in that position of just being like, we don't have to. And then uh, my father invited me to go see it, and I was like, okay, I'll go. And that was kind of what pushed me to actually see the thing. But neither of us had that much of a drive to see it for knowing we were going to do an episode on the Fantastic Four movies.
And you know what? This is the first one I've seen in theaters since Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which felt like my goodbye to it. And this is
Mm,
like someone else dragged me to a party from that night that like
yeah,
it's still going on. I'm like, I kind of everyone I knew is gone. Like I don't know people here.
you didn't
Oh, these
see
people seem nice,
uh,
but
you didn't see Thunderbolts.
oh fuck, we did. I forgot, and I
I
liked that one.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
Oh shit.
that is probably the most accurate pocket of where the MCU, when it's good, exists. Where it's like I liked it, but I don't remember it. Like,
I know. I totally forgot. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about it on that episode. I'd recommend go and listen to it along with the Suicide Squad stuff in that episode. Like it's yeah, I thought it was a good movie. It's just not enough anymore because they're not designed to last. Like
Mm.
they're just fundamentally in their DNA not designed to last anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's a shame. A lot of talented people work on these things.
What?
See, I'm being nice.
Here's, I guess what's weird is that like they're so, I think it's just the shared universe thing has just fucked everything where it's just like nothing ends, right? So none of it's self-contained. Even like something like, and I know I'm more down on this movie than most people, but the new Superman, which is a much more self-contained story, right? And I would, and first steps too is a very self-contained story, right? Like there's very little
Hmm.
that's like, oh, this is for the greater Marvel universe. But just the knowledge of a shared universe around these things makes them harder to deal with as films, in my opinion, as like just the film object, right? Like
Hmm.
it's a it's they're either like, oh, nothing's resolved, or there's like a big shadow cast over everything. I mean, like, yeah, but what are they gonna how are they gonna fuck this up, right? Like how, like what is,
Hmm.
and like it feels like I'm at a marketing meeting when I go to these movies, right? That like we're talking about what's going to happen, and
That's
then
fucked up.
if it, what,
That might be the meanest thing you've ever
yeah,
said.
but it's true. It's also like it feels like we're going, well, here's what we're predicting for the next quarter, right? And
Hmm.
it's like we're a business that like we made a product and then we went public and got bought. And now we're having all these meetings about like, yeah, but here's how we increase profits and here's how this happens. And it's like, wait, what did we make? What do we do actually? Like what do we, yeah, it's like, yeah, but like we got like an NFT thing coming and it's like, yeah, but what, it's like AI is going to be introduced and I'm like, yeah, but like didn't what didn't we make like a bullwhip or something? Like what are we doing? Like aren't we, what's going on? And so it's hard to engage with these movies as a result. Um, but yeah, it's a weird time to be a superhero fan, frankly. Uh,
Hmm.
so um, it's, and that definitely hung over the movie for me. Uh, the newest Fantastic Four. Um, but
Yeah.
is
Uh, it was an unfortunate experience going into it. Um, maybe we'll talk a little bit about it just since it's here. We're gonna talk about every Fantastic Four movie basically.
mhm.
Some more than others. I think there's just not that much material for some of these movies.
Yeah, it's yeah. Some of these are like, in fact, two of them we could basically lump together and be like, that's what went wrong with those two. Anyway,
Yeah. I mean, everyone. We're talking about the Tim Story ones. That's
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
They have the same highs and lows. Um, and I'll give those movies credit when they deserve it because I do think there is some good shit in there, some cool shit. Maybe not. I mean, not great, but some
there
cool
is a
like, oh, that
like
was kind of neat.
I, there is a like, oh, I do miss when movies used to do stuff like this. It's not good here, but like
Hmm.
I do miss the attempt. That was my review of Rise of the Silver Surfer, where I'm like, we used to make movies (parentheses derogatory) like
um. Yeah. Like. Okay. This is not maybe not super important, but I want to bring it up. I also saw First Steps in 3D. This is the first 3D movie I've seen in
hmm,
like since Avatar: Way of Water.
yeah, yeah. I would assume that's
Because
what the last one would be.
yeah, because it was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna go watch it. This is the last Showtime that has good seats, so here I go. Um, not a, I can't imagine that making a market improvement on the film. Um, so I would not recommend seeing it in 3D. If you can avoid it, do it.
Yeah.
um,
Frankly, I guess if you're not in Los Angeles, it's very easy to avoid 3D films. I can't
God,
remember the last time a 3D film was even offered to me in my local area. Uh, I'm sure that happened with Avatar, but I saw Avatar in New York City.
mm,
So, it's, yeah, I can't remember the last time I went to the movies and saw the bins that you put the 3D glasses in when the movie's over. Um,
what a gift! What a
what
fucking
a
treasure!
what a dead end of a cultural thing that they were like, yeah, this will work. Um,
It's like it
But
works with Avatar and sometimes other stuff if they're really lucky. Like once every 5 years, I'm gonna be generous and say once every 5 years, there's a movie that's kind of cool in 3D.
yeah, once when you put the effort into actually using it,
Yeah,
it
you don't
works. But
half-ass it.
no movies actually do that. Like none of the movies that use 3D actually weaponize it in a way that's interesting, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that was like the big issue when fucking that piece of shit Jeffrey Katzenberg was like everything's gonna be 3D, and it's like, yeah, but did you think about it? He's like 3D. It's like, yeah, but like what do we use it for 3D?
Yeah, like imagine you're like, all right, Kelly Reichardt, here's $50 million, your biggest budget ever. You got to do it in 3D. If she could crack the code on that and she could figure out a narrative she wanted to tell with 3D, that'd be amazing. And I'm not saying she's a lesser filmmaker than this. It's fucking Kelly Reichardt. She's one of the best to ever do it. But it would be like hilarious. It's just like, yeah, you gotta do it in 3D. Here's $50 million. Like, I think she
You would
would
have to
kill
let
them.
even like great filmmakers, you would have to let them like learn how to use the technology, right? And that's the
Hmm.
one thing studios don't let anyone do these days, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like there's no pre-production on movies anymore that aren't just like, let's just do half the visual effects before the movie. Oh, like,
Yeah.
and but there's no actual like, let's plan the thing before we do the thing.
Yeah.
And
I want to give Fantastic Four First Steps a little credit then because I remember just over like 2 years ago, there was leaks of like, oh, they're doing Panavision tests, or they're doing tests
mm,
at Panavision for the new Fantastic Four, and I was like, I see why that would be cool to people who've never heard that before, but like a lot of movies use Panavision lenses,
mhm.
the anamorphic lenses specifically, like
Yeah.
too many use them nowadays. Like this isn't like exciting information. I appreciate the report, but like it's not so a little credit, a little dig, not that exciting. These big productions that maybe wash out the color and the lighting in post production, don't do anamorphic lenses. It will make the image smeary and a little ugly, and maybe
Yeah.
doesn't help if it's in 3D. Anyways, Matt, what's your history with the Fantastic Four?
Um, Fantastic Four are one of those where like they kind of just always existed in my brain, right? Like I can't remember a time I didn't know about them, you know? I don't know why though. It's so weird. It's weird to think about because let's just be, and this will probably upset some people, and I know there have been good Fantastic Four comics in the last 20, 30 years,
Oh, oh,
but
oh
like,
no,
what?
I'm just
Who?
scared of
They
what you're
upset?
gonna say.
No, I'm just like, but they've definitely lost their place as one of the premier superhero comics, right?
Oh, that's not
Like,
controversial. Yeah, yeah, totally.
yeah, like they're not ostensibly, they're the comic that made Marvel. Essentially, we'll talk about that in a minute. But like, Marvel as we know it wouldn't exist without the Fantastic Four, and a lot of like they were like the flagship comic for Marvel next to Spider-Man, right? In the
Hmm.
60s, there was a time when like the Fantastic Four was the coveted comic, and now it's like what the dude stretches. Like that's like probably the general attitude of people,
Hmm.
of who the Fantastic Four are. But when I was a kid, I guess they were still around enough that I knew who they were. And my father was a big Silver Surfer fan. So he used to he had a bunch of the Marvel Masterworks from that era specifically, because that was the stuff he liked. I remember him, just because it's relevant. I remember him describing the Galactus trilogy to me as a child, and me being like, "That sounds like the greatest story human beings have ever written or will ever write. Like we'll never make something better than the Galactus trilogy." And that's what you're like when you're 5 years old. So Goku hadn't gone Super Saiyan yet. So I didn't know stories could get I didn't know how good stories could get. I ought to be young again. When a guy's hair turning a different color was like, holy shit, we leveled up as it collectively leveled up as a society and culture. Goku did that for us. You know.
Yeah, there's no. Here's the thing: is there anything as cool as Goku going Super Saiyan in any of these movies recently? Like, that might sound
Absolutely
petty,
not.
yeah, but it's like, because this is the thing: Fantastic Four. I don't want to hijack your stuff yet, but I will right now. Um, like, as characters in comics, like, they get lumped in with superhero comics because, like, that's the Marvel brand, that's their bread and butter. Like, the more interesting stuff is like the weird sci-fi gobbledygook they get
Yeah.
up to, right? Like the space adventures. Like, it makes sense that Matt Shackman, who was hired to do a Star Trek 4, which died on the vine, gets
Mm.
plucked to do the Marvel Fantastic Four movie. I think that is an absolutely correct decision to make. Um,
Yes.
that's the vibe. And, like, it's not that exciting action wise. Like, they're cool. Like, obviously with stuff like The Incredibles, everyone kind of like, oh, that's the best Fantastic Four movie. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a layup comment, but it's like, it's also kind of true. They figured out the family aspect. They figured out the action aspect.
They just don't have the
And
science aspect, really.
they just,
Like that's the
yeah,
one thing they don't have.
yeah.
Um,
And with these movies, every one of these movies, I'm sorry to say, I'll kind of put my cards on the table a little bit. Like, there's no big, like, hero shots of these guys.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's a scientist and a family and explorers and adventurers, but, like, you can make your people look fucking cool. Like, hook them up. Like,
The
give
only
me
thing I really
something
remember,
here.
the only thing I really remember as a kid was the trailer for the first Fantastic Four movie where Human Torch does the big four in the sky, right, using the flames. I
Mm-hmm.
remember that shot and being like, "Oh, that looks cool," and then basically nothing in the movie is like that good, which is
No,
bad. Um, was your history with Fantastic Four? Um,
the Tim Story films,
okay,
which
that's
I
I had a
never
feeling. I had a
liked.
feeling we would jump there. I had a feeling, so that's why I did that.
Well, that put me off of Fantastic Four for
Mm.
years. I was like, really? Like, these fucking nerds are gonna be like, no, no, Fantastic Four is cool. Really? I've seen the movies. I know what I'm talking about. I'm 12 years old. Like,
Well,
um,
I guess let's go back to your 12-year-old mindset where Goku is the coolest. Uh, but, uh, just how it is. I'm wondering, like, so what was your like build up? So let's put you back. So at some point you're aware of Fantastic Four movies coming, right? I'm sure you've heard the name Fantastic Four at some point. Um,
mhm.
had you?
So yes, I remember there was like the cartoons or something, but I never really watched them.
Yeah, yeah,
I
same. Like
yeah,
again, it was more like a vague awareness of them than
uh
actually
huh.
engaging with them.
Yeah, I remember
Uh,
with the Hulk episode, it was like, the Mount Rushmore of superheroes like drastically changed over the last 20 years. It's like, I
yeah,
wouldn't have
yeah,
put the Fantastic Four up there, but it was like, no, that's definitely in the zeitgeist as like one of the premier superhero identity things. The Fantastic
yeah.
Four. It's a big deal.
And
So I
where?
don't see the first movie in theaters. I see it on FX because I'm like,
Okay.
I'm plugged into fucking Spider Man. Like, let's fucking go. This looks kind of Spider Man adjacent. Holy shit, it is not.
Yeah,
um,
that was the question I was building towards. Like, where are you with superheroes at the moment? The Tim Story Fantastic Four comes out. Like,
Spider Man hooked into my brain, rewrote my DNA. Um, the first Hulk movie came out before the first Fantastic Four, I believe, as well.
yeah,
And I was secretly like, no, that's the first time, like, maybe everyone's wrong. I think that was good.
we talked about that when we did Hulk years ago. Like that
Yeah,
I think we both had a similar response to it.
yeah, like,
But
newsflash, assholes. I've been a Hulk fan the whole time. Which I did not have that response to either Fantastic Four movie. I
Mm,
remember vividly. I don't remember the first trailer for the first movie. I remember vividly the second one though, where this
mm.
Human Torch is chasing the Silver Surfer. Here's a big reveal. That scene kind of kicks ass.
Oh, that is kind of there's a reason why that was the trailer for that movie. Like,
Yeah, and
because it's
I
kind of
remember because that I
it's,
think we were probably both freshmen in high school when that came out, or about to be.
let me check.
Was 2007?
2007, it's a little before. 2008 is the big crossover year for me. So like I
Hmm.
think I'm on the verge of, or I'm just about to begin high school, but like there's something about freshman year to me where I'm like, that wasn't real. Like that was like I'm still a kid freshman year, like I'm not really a high schooler. And then 2008 is the big like, oh, now the shift has happened. Like
Hmm.
that's when all that stuff kicked in.
Well,
Um,
I remember two trailers playing very differently for me than they did everyone else. One was the AVPR trailer where people were like, whoa, oh, it's rated R now. That looks fucking great.
mm,
And it would take me about 15 years later to be like, all right, there's stuff I like in that. But I did not like that trailer when that came out. And then the Silver Surfer trailer, everyone's like, man, that looks even worse than the first one. And I was like, what are you all talking about? Like, that looks pretty cool.
mm. I think
Anyways, it was
I've
not cool.
mentioned, yeah, no, it was, we'll get there. But I mentioned my father being a big fan of the Silver Surfer. We own the poster for Rise of the Silver Surfer. Yeah, yeah. It's what I have. I'm currently where I'm sitting. My family's a big movie family. Let me list the posters that are on my wall right now in the basement. All right, Tombstone, original Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy, Terminator, Big Lebowski, Halloween, Kill Bill, The Thing, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
All of comparable
Uh,
quality.
oh yes, but here's the thing about that poster. It's just the surfer, and it just says Rise on it. That's why we own it. Like it gives no indication that it's part of a Fantastic Four film. But my dad has a whole shrine for the Silver Surfer. Uh,
Wow.
he tried and failed to get the Galactus popcorn bucket for the new movie.
Oh,
Um,
sorry.
yeah. At a certain point, he was like, "Wait a minute, I want to spend that much money on a popcorn bucket." Like,
Oh yeah, it's like $80, right?
yeah, it's like a lot, and like we don't really have AMC's around here, so you would have to like order it to like get shipped to us. So then it's like shipping, like so. He
Mhm.
was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that."
Okay, I
But
had to look up the Silver Surfer poster you're talking about because I couldn't place it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like just
yeah,
in a vacuum.
and And so he used to go to, this doesn't exist anymore, but there used to be a college basketball tournament called the Big East Tournament that used to take place in New York City every year, I believe. My dad used to go to it fairly regularly because my hometown Syracuse, and Syracuse has nothing going on for it except the basketball team. Um, and he would indulge in the alcohol while he was on those trips. And when the camera came back of what pictures he took when he decided to develop the film, when the camera came back, I would say a good 75% of the photos he took is him in front of different versions of the Silver Surfer poster that you just saw that were around New York City with him like with his arms raised in the air. That my father just took pictures of himself in front of all of those, and then obviously the movie was very disappointing, but he was very excited to see the Silver Surfer, and um, you know, uh, it's a big deal character for him. Um, but yeah, you're right. I was in that like they've so positioned the Tim Story Fantastic Four as like this is the next one, right? This is the
Hmm.
next superhero movie you want to see, you know, of just we're coming off of, to me this is a big era of uh we're coming off of two Spider-Man movies, two X-Men movies, which I know the X-Men movies now have a weird legacy to them. I think X2 is still pretty great for what it is.
Rewatching
It's
both those first two. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Brian Cox is so fucking good in X-Men 2. I'm
I
sorry, like I can't.
no,
Like
he's so fucking great. He's
yeah,
fucking incredible. I always thought like even when I was kind of like turning against those movies the last decade before revisiting them, and I was like, yeah, X2 is this is pretty fucking incredible.
yeah.
I always think of his delivery and be like, and she attempted to pour the images out, and it's like Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
dude.
he does the like hand thing, like it's so good.
Yeah, I
I
just
always
did
think
it to
of
my head too to like imitate
yeah,
them. It's
I
so
love the
good.
when he's showing the president the like where they have the photos of the X jet and it's like what is that some kind of jet? And he's like, yes, it appears to come up out of the basketball courts. Like
God,
it's just like, oh
yeah,
my
that's
god, what what a guy to just know. Like that's him and like Molina, like and fucking Defoe were like, we know that playing these guys is going to be important for our careers. Like that, like this is Macbeth to us. Like we're gonna take this fucking seriously, and it's just ridiculous too. That was he's so good in those movies. But like, yeah, there's such a like palpable superheroes are on the rise in the air, and then there's like a weird fumbling that kind of happens between those years and the Dark Knight Iron Man year, right? Like we
hmm
get kind of a couple fumbles in terms of like Spider-Man 3, X3, we get um what's like Elektra's in this time.
oh
Um
God.
the, yeah, we get Superman Returns. Like that's a big fumble, right?
hmm
Uh the other 2005, the good one is Batman Begins, right?
Yep.
And if you want to know where my mentality was, I think I've talked about this like again, where I was like, I thought Batman Begins was a prequel to the Tim Burton Batman. Like I didn't get it, right? I was
hmm
like, how does this all fit in? Like, doesn't make sense. He's got a Joker card. Joker's not Joker yet. Like I didn't understand what they were. I didn't understand reboots and shit like that by this point. But that was like the good one. But this Fantastic Four and the very rushed like Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer comes out in 2007, which is an already overpacked superhero year. Uh, it's like these are two fumbles that happen that are kind of like, oh, superheroes are they're kind of not working. And I do remember going to see Fantastic Four, being like, this is going to be the next big thing. Watching it and being like, oh, that sucked. Like it's a shame that it was bad, right?
hmm
That I wanted it to be cool, and it's like they beat Doctor Doom with a fire hydrant.
Well, I wasn't
Like,
even in like the pocket for Doctor Doom yet, where I was like, people like this guy, you know, and it's like that's the reputation those movies had.
I guess I guess here's the other thing is that like I wasn't as familiar with it, but there's a part of me in this era where I'm like, I know that Doctor Doom is important, right? So I'm
hmm
like, clearly there must be something to this guy. And I could sense when a movie didn't deliver on that, of just like, you did not establish that Doctor Doom is that important. You did not establish that Doctor Doom is a threat to be reckoned with, which frankly is the thing you need to do if you are making a superhero film, right?
hmm
Like, like the one thing you really need to do is make the villain a threat. Did you know Mark Frost has a writing credit on the first Fantastic
I
Tim
was
Story
gonna bring that
Fantastic
up.
Four?
He has a writing credit on both movies.
Hmm. Uh, whatever paycheck you got, I hope it helped get Twin Peaks: The Return.
Yeah, no, Mark Frost. It's fine. It's fine. It's not his fault. We got to remember at this level of studio productions, because these both the films had like a budget of like over $100 million at that time, which was huge. It's still huge,
Hmm.
but like especially back then.
Yeah, and it's still a
There's probably
time
like 100 other
where
people who wrote on these movies.
it's also a time where the studios producing these movies still kind of fucking hated superheroes, right? And 20th Century Fox is like the most notorious for it, right?
hmm
Of just like the guys being like, we're not, fuck this shit. This is for babies. Like, who cares? And uh, in that environment, the Fantastic Four are going to be the hardest sell as an adaptation, right? Like,
hmm
because you're like, what is it? It's about fucking family. They're goofy. Like the leader, his power is stretching. Like what she turns of like what is this? Like I get that a studio executive being like, what is this? But being like, but also going, yeah, but these make money, so let's make them. And then no one really cares enough to try and make these things quality films. It's they're just like, just get it out there. And that's how you end up with something like the Tim Story Fantastic Four films. Um,
yep. Uh, but it's not the first Fantastic Four appearance on
no,
film
it is not.
on the big
Which is
screen.
something I,
Yes,
which
but
yeah, it's the first on the big screen. It's not the first. It's not the first attempt. and that's part of the interesting history of these characters. But let me check something real quick. Might be a gap in audio. Um, we're all good. All right. I remember I've been having I've been having the weird problems with the audio, so I just thought I'd double check. Uh, let's go back to the creation of the Fantastic Four, though.
Yay!
1961. Kennedy isn't shot yet.
My parents weren't
Sorry.
even born yet.
Oh shit. My dad's born. Dad's 59. So there's that. Uh, it's crazy to think about.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't like that
um,
feeling.
nope, didn't like it. Don't like it either. Yeah, I don't like that I'm running into people who are adults that are like, yeah, I was born after one of the totemic movies of your childhood came out.
Yeah.
Oh, uh,
Now
whatever.
I'm hearing people are born after 9/11, and I'm like, that's not correct.
That's not possible.
Yeah, that's
That can't be.
inappropriate.
That's yeah. Show some respect.
Never forget. How about you learn?
Yeah.
How
How
about you
about
learn
yeah?
about it?
Yeah. How about you fucking live through that trauma like all of us? And then they do, and they're like, we should go to Iraq. And I'm like, no, no, wait, wait.
I maybe we should just be like the grumpiest motherfuckers and just be really miserable about 9/11. Like completely oversell how much it fucked us up. Like individually, not as a nation, which it did, but like just hanging over everyone's heads who have no power over the situation.
Here's the thing: you can do that with people that, if you're me, because here's the thing: I grew up in New York as a kid. I live in Syracuse, New York, which is 4 hours away from New York City. But for years, when I ran into people who hadn't seen me in a long time, or being like, "Hey, how are you okay?" And I'd be like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, you were attacked." And I'd be like, "Oh, oh yeah, the city. Yeah, I've never been to New York City." Like, I used to get that a lot from especially conservatives, like conservative family members. Like they thought I took 9/11 very personally and was deeply traumatized by it because I lived in the state of New York. But uh, not how that works. But yeah, we could probably fool Gen Zers into being like, yeah, you don't understand, man. You don't know what it was like. You'll never know.
The Fantastic Four couldn't have stopped 9/11.
Remember Dr. Doom cried in the wreckage of the Twin Towers?
I remember that. That's how fucked up that event made our country. It
We were
just
going
broke our
through
psyche.
we were going through a lot. It's like
Yeah.
Magneto, Kingpin, and Doctor Doom are like, how can this evil be possible? It's like Doctor Doom literally wants to commit. I mean, Magneto literally wants to commit genocide. Like, this Kingpin would care though.
Kingpin might care because he'd be
Kingpin
like,
might, yeah,
especially the
actually,
Vincent D'Onofrio one, he'd be like, I love this city, Vanessa.
yeah.
Like,
Well, it's kind of like Magneto. I mean, it's kind of like Tony Soprano, like being worried about terrorism, even though he kind of like doesn't give a shit about America in any way. Like,
mm.
he's but he's also like, yeah, but we gotta do something about this. Like, we gotta keep the docks safe.
And then he'd probably make money off selling weapons to like private military organizations. So it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't stick in his mind very long, but I do think
But
it
you
would
know what?
affect him.
He named names to the FBI guys. That's part of
Yeah,
the
but that
later
was just so he could
seasons.
like he could take the rest of the criminal underworld. It,
There's what motive he does like Dick Cheney, but that was mainly because they were able to defraud like so many government agencies while the Bush administration was in power.
this is how
There's
interesting Doctor Doom is in those Fantastic Four movies, by the way.
Yeah, there's not much to talk
By
about.
not talking about him.
Even though he is one of the big bads of the fucking Marvel universe, like he's one of the big ones.
He is
He's like a
arguably the one.
he's like a sorcerer, mad scientist,
Yeah, like that's fucking
which
awesome. Like I've heard him
which
compared to like Darth Vader like 10 years ago, like Marvel's Darth Vader, like equivalent.
I
And
mean, Jack Kirby insisted until the day he died that George Lucas ripped off huge chunks of his work for Star Wars. Like that's a big part of it. I mean, it's a lot
yeah.
closer to the fourth world with something like Dark Side. right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely things there of
Totally.
overlap.
Yeah, but
Um,
I'll say
j-
that
j-
those comments of comparison, I was like, okay, that's a huge claim. Let me go check out what the fuck these Fantastic Four comics are all about. Marvel Unlimited just started. I'm like, ooh, let me check these out. Ooh, okay, I can go back here. Okay, and then other means, I was like, oh, let me check out all this other stuff because you couldn't find these fucking old comics unless you owned them for decades, right?
you could either own them or you could buy like the Marvel Masterworks, which were like $40 for like 10 issues,
Yeah,
like,
and I
which
didn't
was
have
a
money
lot.
10 years ago,
Yeah,
so
yeah. That's why my dad bought those and not me as a child. So,
yeah. Well, so just to get back to the first film, the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, after kind of scouring the internet for other stuff, I was like, hold on, what the fuck? There's another
oh, you
Fantastic Four movie?
you stumbled on it that way? That's how you
Yeah.
stumbled on it?
I
Oh, wow.
remember hearing about it,
Mm.
and I was like, okay, well, I'm never gonna watch that. It's not released. And then it kind of all comes flooding back, and I remember that, and I come across like, what the fuck? I gotta see
And
this someday.
for those who don't know, there was a Fantastic Four film that was fully shot basically in the 90s that was basically done just to hold on to the rights of it. Like, that's the story. That there's even debate that it was even intended to be released, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a lot. It's hard to tell what was really going on there. It had a budget of like $1 million. It looks like an episode of Power Rangers. It was never released, and you could get bootlegs of it for a long time. In fact, two stories. One, I watched it on Google Video back in the day. That was how I watched it. I knew it existed, so I went looking for it. And I went to Midtown Comics in New York City, and Midtown Comics had a whole shelf that was just bootleg films, and one of them was the Fantastic Four. I doubt they do that anymore. I feel like that, like, you don't really go to comic shops and see bootleg films for sale these days.
No.
Uh, did they do that at Comic Con still? I know they use, like, a lot of the cons I went to, but I've never went to like the big ones. You could still find shelves that are being like, hey, here's an unofficial release of something.
I know I've not come across that. I think it's too big brand oriented now. I have my fun,
Yeah,
but like it's definitely like late stage capitalism convention at times.
yeah, yeah. I feel like, but that used to be a big part of the fan convention scene when I used to
Hmm.
go. But like I used to go like the really shitty small ones.
Yeah.
So, like, where you would actually go and you would actually buy comic books. But my dad has an entire run of the Silver Surfer series that I believe started in the 70s and ended in the early 90s. I think it's like the third volume of the Silver Surfer. Um, so he's a Silver Surfer number one. Um, which he just got, which was given to him as a gift recently, which is pretty cool.
That's
Um,
cool.
it's not a like pristine copy, but it's still cool. So, uh, but my dad, that's so. That's it, but I remember going with him because I was basically dragged along to comic book stores with him so he could try to collect more Silver Surfer comics. It's and that's how my comic book addiction started. Um, but to go back to the formation of the comic book series, Fantastic Four. Now, uh, let's talk about before we go into like what the actual Fantastic Four comic was. Um, what do you know the story that Stan Lee likes to tell about the formation of the Fantastic Four?
I actually don't, and I apologize for not reading up on it before
No,
this
no,
episode.
it's fine. But the story that Stan Lee likes to tell is that Marvel was basically on the verge of collapse at the beginning of the '60s. They were doing mostly like monster stories, right, and romance comics. Those are like the two things they were doing. Uh, DC had just done the Justice League comic. Justice League had just premiered in an issue of Brave and the Bold, and it had done very well. The publisher, the owner of DC Comics, used to golf with the owner of Marvel, and was like, "Hey, we just did really well with this team comic." So allegedly, the owner of Marvel, I think it was Martin Goodman at the time. I could be wrong. Um, Came to Stan Lee and was like, "We got to do a team comic." And Stan Lee at this point is like, "I don't even want to write. I don't want to write superheroes anymore. I think they're dumb. No one likes superheroes." This is Stan Lee's version of events. Um, and he's like, I don't want to do this, but like they're making me do it. He goes home. Stan Lee credits his wife with saying, "Look, just write what you've wanted to write the whole time. Like clearly you have all these stories you want to tell." Stan Lee is like, for those who don't know, Stan Lee wanted to write the great American novel. He's a disgruntled novelist. He never got to write books. He was kind of forced to write comics. At least that's the version he tells. It's always hard with Stanley. And so his wife goes, just write what you wanted to write. Put what you want to put into the story. And he was like, so I showed up the next day and I came up with a Fantastic Four. And I put a lot of my, beliefs and ideas into the Fantastic Four. And Jack Kirby, co-creator of the Fantastic Four, um, towards the end of his career, Jack Kirby was saying the Fantastic Four was entirely my idea. I was told to make a team. I came up with everything. Stan just wrote the dialogue. Now
Damn.
it should be noted that it should be noted when Jack Kirby said that towards the end, uh, he was in a lawsuit with Marvel over royalties, and at this point, Jack Kirby was saying stuff like, not only was Jack Kirby taking credit for the Fantastic Four in its entirety, he was like, I also came up with Spider-Man. He was like, Spider-Man was my idea. But like I was like they ended up doing the book with me. He's like I came up with it. And even a lot of historians are like, we don't know the veracity of that claim, right?
Hmm.
And it's a very difficult one to understand. And that the lawsuits that were going on at the time kind of color it. But even then, Kirby, towards while he was still on at least speaking terms with Stan Lee and Marvel, um, was saying stuff like, "Yeah, like I did most of it." Like was what he would say. He was like, "Stan was definitely there. I'm not saying Stan Lee wasn't a part of it, but he's like, I did most of it. A lot of it was my ideas, but Stan wrote it, and he didn't give him zero credit. Uh, but yeah, um, Stanley likely, no matter how you slice it, Stanley probably took more credit for it than he should have. Uh, now, I wouldn't say there's definitely Stanley fingerprints over the early Fantastic Four story, so I can't. There's no part where I can go, Stanley had nothing to do with it.
Hmm.
But there's that thing about like Spider-Man where it says Stanley and Steve Ditko on the cover for those first like 50 issues, I think. Or how many did Steve Ditko actually do? Um,
Let's see.
what's the first Spider-Man omnibus? Because that the first volume of Amazing Spider-Man um, is all the Steve Ditko stuff. Uh,
Might take a second.
yeah, yeah. Um, anyway, the point I was making is that whatever that is, whatever that run with Steve Ditko did, the first half they definitely worked on together, but everyone knows that the last half of the Steve Ditko run, Ditko was doing entirely himself with no input from Stan Lee. That he would just send the issues in, the drawings in with no dialogue or anything, and Stan Lee would just fill in the blanks. But Stan Lee was not overseeing any of the story stuff, right?
Hmm.
Um,
38
and this is
issues? Is that
so,
correct?
that sounds about right. So
Yeah.
like divide that in half, and then that's you can basically go like half of that was them together, the other half was entirely Ditko, right?
Mm.
Um, and then you have Stan Lee's name is on Doctor Strange, but Stan Lee has admitted in in writing at the time that Doctor Strange was entirely Ditko's creation. That so Stanley had like almost nothing to do with Doctor Strange, but his name's all over that character as well. Uh, no matter how you slice it, Stanley took more credit than he should have taken, right?
Hmm.
I think everyone's kind of aware of this. Uh, what's going on there is a topic of debate. Really, what it seems like is here's the thing: Stanley, whenever it was talked about that Stanley might get fired from Marvel, that's when Stanley would start going like, you know what? I don't know who came up with these characters really. Like
Mm.
actually, I don't know who really did it. Like, so who's to say who created it and who owned it? And it was basically a good way of being like, okay, Stan, we'll keep you on the payroll if you are the face. Like, he was very smart at being like, I'm the face of Marvel. Like, so they can't really fire me because I am the creator of these characters. And if they fire me, that would look really bad. And then I could start, doing some muscling of being like, yeah, but you can't do it without me, right? He positioned
Oh,
himself very
jeez.
well as that. And Jack Kirby, even though Jack Kirby arguably had more to do with these comics, didn't have that position. So Jack Kirby could just leave and nothing would change, right? Jack Kirby does
Hmm.
leave at the end. He's basically does a 10-year run at Marvel and then leaves and goes to DC. Part of it, we'll talk about it, is over the royalties of the Silver Surfer character um, that he was very disgruntled with. And but he was, that didn't really affect. Marvel definitely had a slowdown at the beginning of the 70s, but it's not like it stopped it. And then Marvel, by the end of the 70s, is kind of back to where it was, right?
Hmm.
And by the end of the 70s, Jack Kirby is not really doing that much comic work anymore.
Hmm.
And that's when he enters his 80s period where he's doing like advertising. And that's when he starts being like, I'm owed royalties. That's when a lot of that talk starts. Um, but Stan Lee obviously stayed employed. I think I was buying Marvel comics in the 2000s. I was reading Spider-Man, and it still had Stan Lee's name on it, right? It was like Stan Lee Presents. Stan Lee hadn't written a comic in like fucking 25 years by that point, you know?
Hmm.
Like, it's crazy to think about how much he was still integral to the Marvel brand by that point in the series. Guess whose name wasn't on the Spider-Man comics? Steve Ditko. Like
Mm.
I'm sure it said somewhere based on the characters created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, but it did say Stan Lee Presents in much bigger letters, right?
Yeah.
Like uh, that's part of the complicated stuff. And here's the thing: if you know Jack Kirby's work, you're like, yeah, Fantastic Four does feel like it's much more Kirby's idea than Lee's. Um, I don't know how you feel about all that, but um,
No, it's considering their interests here. How would you describe the difference between Kirby and Lee? Because I
uh,
I completely agree that stuff like Fantastic Four is totally a Kirby thing more. Like the interest in writing the characters, like not just the dialogue and the plotting, like the difference between that, but Kirby's interests feel more heady in a way. Not that
yeah,
Stanley's were dumb by any sense of any stretch of the imagination. Get
no,
it?
like
Any stretch?
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
Stanley's writing is like very like he had a very centrist lib take on things, right?
Hmm.
Now, which is very like it's the classic like him and Kirby come up with X-Men, and there's the famous dynamic of Professor X being Martin Luther King and Magneto being Malcolm X, right? Like that's
Hmm.
kind of the like how true that is, whatever, but that's kind of but that's a very good summation of where Lee's politics lied. But
Yeah,
again,
when
he was in
the myth becomes legend or whatever, print the legend, whatever the fuck.
yeah, but it is very accurate to what his politics were. But at the time, it was still kind of radical to take those positions. Like, he very much he had the Stan soapbox letter column that appeared in a lot of the Marvel comics, and he would be like, look, we're pro people of color, we're pro black people here. Like, we're pro all that stuff. Like, if you don't like that, don't buy our comic, which was kind of radical to say in the 60s. Like, I do want to give Stan some credit for that. And I think
Hmm.
a lot of those politics that weave their way into the Marvel stuff are a lot of Stan. Like I do think Stan deserves the credit. Now Kirby does also deserve that. Remember, he's the co-creator of Captain America, whose first issue was punching Hitler in the face. So, and also there's the famous, probably apocryphal story, but it's a cute story that pro-Nazi protesters showed up at the Marvel offices at the time known as Timely after the publication of Captain America #1, and the police had to be called. And the story is the police spent more time stopping Jack Kirby from going down there and fighting the protesters. So, which is a cute story. Who knows if that's what's true? But
Hmm.
fucking Kirby actually went and fought. I think Kirby was at D-Day. Like Kirby fought in World War II, man. Like so, obviously he had some opinions on a lot of the bigotry stuff too that was going on. But
Hmm.
there's that. I also think that a lot of women aren't portrayed the best in 60s Marvel comics, and they all sound the same. And I'm willing to give credit to say that is Stan Lee, that's his stuff. Partly because he put his wife into a lot of it. That Stan Lee was a dude who really loved his wife. Apparently, he was a big wife guy. So that's partly why when Gwen Stacy died in the '70s, he was kind of like he tried to say he didn't give approval for it, but he did. He tried to say that later, but he was also kind of hurt by it because Gwen Stacy was one of the many female love interests that was based on his wife. Like it kind of hurt him. So it's impossible to say that like Stan Lee had nothing to do with it. I do think the banter between the Fantastic Four, a lot of it is Lee, but also the Fantastic Four is full of like underground cities and ancient aliens and parallel universes and heady science concepts and gods and all that stuff. And that's
That's
100% Kirby.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. And again, it's funny. Kirby was definitely dealing with a lot of heady stuff. And then if you read interviews with him, especially towards the end when he's a lot more bitter, he's like, I was just trying to sell more comics. He's like, I knew I needed to do something that was more interesting than gangsters. And it's like, dude, you changed like all of culture. Like, dude, like I know people get tired of the whole like superheroes as modern mythology debate. Like that's kind of like I know people don't like that whole thing that like, oh, it's our modern Greek mythology. The I would argue the closest we can get to that as an idea is Jack Kirby's body of work from the 60s to the late 70s, right?
hmm
That I think Kirby is the closest we got to that. Um, and that is a lot of his stuff. A good example, just because it's a big part of it, is the Galactus trilogy, which allegedly started as Stanley being like, "We got to have him fight like a big guy," and I want him to be called Galactus. That was basically the pitch, and
That's
it was like,
it's
"Gotta have him fight."
beautiful.
Yeah, and then so Kirby then draws Galactus like and comes up with the whole thing. And now, who came up with the idea that Galactus ate worlds? That's probably debatable, but it seems to be a Kirby idea. But the name Galactus was likely Stan Lee's thing. But you know what wasn't Stan Lee's idea at all
What?
was the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, that makes
That,
sense.
but here's where it gets fucked up. So basically in the last like 20 years of interviews, Stanley would say, "Yeah, I went to Jack and said we got to do a guy named Galactus," and he would come up with being like he would say he came up with the idea of Galactus,
hmm
and who knows how much of it was beyond the name. But he's like, "Yeah, I said we got to do a character named Galactus." And he's like, and then Jack came back, and there's this guy on a surfboard, and I'd be like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And he, to Stanley's credit, and this is like the last 20 years of interviews, to Stanley's credit, in those last 20 years, he would be like, I didn't ask for this guy. Who is it? And he said, Kirby went to me. He's like, well, if Galactus is meant to be a god, he should have like angels and like heralds. So he's like, this is one of his heralds. And Sam would be like, and he's like, Jack, that's a great idea. Right? Like that, and that's what he would do. Now, he wasn't necessarily saying this in the 60s and 70s. You know what Stan Lee did say on top of those 20 years of interviews, but also going back to the creation of the Silver Surfer? Stan Lee would say, my favorite character that I created was the Silver Surfer.
Ah,
Which is weird that it's also the character he is the most willing to admit he had nothing to do with. So, and for a long time, Stan Lee was like, the Surfer is my character, and I want to use the Surfer as like my springboard for my ideas. To the point where, when the Silver Surfer series is launched, that is one where Stan Lee is like, that is mine 100%. And he did. That comic he wrote. He wrote that one. Jack Kirby didn't do the art for most of it. We'll talk about that in a second. But Stan Lee wrote that. And he turns the Surfer into more of a Christ-like figure, which was not Jack Kirby's original intent. But it's just very weird that then like it's such a very strange thing of being like, what is going on with Stan Lee? Of just being like taking the character that he really had nothing to do with, no matter how you slice it, and being like, that's my favorite character that I ever came up with, and just being like, are you sure, Stan? Are you sure?
yeah. Like he clearly
And
tried to take credit for that, but like maybe there was something to him like writing that Silver Surfer series where he did feel ownership after that. You know, like both things I
He
think could be true.
yeah, he really felt ownership of it, and also was like very protective of it, where he wouldn't really let other writers do Surfer stuff for a long time. Like Surfer joins the Defenders in the 70s, but doesn't have his own comic until a little bit later. And he does a when Jack Kirby leaves and then comes back to Marvel for a brief stint at the end of the 70s. One of the projects they worked together on immediately is a Silver Surfer comic, and then Kirby leaves again, and Stan Lee teams up with Mobius and does the Mobius Surfer comic, which is still held in pretty high regard by
Mm-hmm.
people. Um, but it's just like that was the one character, Stanley, who kind of wanted to get out of comics the whole time he was in comics, right? Like he didn't want to be in comics for a long time. But whenever the opportunity came for him to actually do something, he very much was like, I just want to write the Surfer. It's like, I don't want to go back to Fantastic Four. I don't want to go back to Captain America. I don't want to do any Avengers stuff. He's like, I want to do the Silver Surfer. That was like the one thing he really wanted to do. And it's very strange when you consider that Surfer was not his character at all. That that is Jack Kirby's creation.
Can I ask, what is your first like run in or like an instance you come across Galactus and Silver Surfer like indirectly? Like did you come across them through any ways that weren't the movies or the comics? Like, you know, because we had kind of talked about how, like the Fantastic Four were like they were always out there in the periphery of our lives in a way.
Yeah,
Did Galactus and Silver Surfer have that same effect on you?
I told you that my father being a big Silver Surfer fan, um,
Mm-hmm.
before I was even reading comics, he would just tell me what happened in those stories. Like again, he just told me like what the Galactus trilogy was, and again I'm like that sounds fucking amazing. Like it really that was a like rewiring of my brain moment. Now like I'm like probably like 4 or 5 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like and I'm not really reading it. Like he probably showed me some images of it, but I can't really read. I was like a slow learner when it came to reading and spelling, right? Like I was definitely in like I this is no joke. I was in like remedial spelling while I'm watching movies like Jaws and Alien, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm still struggling with basic concepts like that in elementary school, while I'm also being told like, yeah, but there's like this guy named Galactus. He's like a god. He tried to eat the planet, and the Surfer was his herald. Like, and to know the world herald, but not be able to spell couch is a very interesting place to be at as a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably just it. Just my dad had tons of Surfer stuff. He had Surfer statues. It's like really the only nerd thing he goes in on that hard, even though he is a nerd. But like my dad was like a jock and like is kind of like a big guy like that in terms of shit. But he just loves the Silver Surfer character. And he once pitched me what he would do with a Surfer movie, and it was genuinely one of the most psychotic things I've ever heard in my entire life.
Oh my
Like
god.
my dad just no idea how to tell a story, but just wanting insane things to happen. Um, it had evil politicians that get murdered by the Silver Surfer in it, so
Okay.
it was. It was like a Neil Breen film except with the Silver Surfer. So, yeah, there's a lot of that going on in my dad's brain. But that was basically my introduction to. I just kind of knew. I knew about the Silver Surfer earlier than I think most kids knew,
Hmm.
but didn't. My first introduction to him as like a actual like piece of media. I probably read a few of the comics in those Marvel Masterworks.
Hmm.
When I was willing to put up with old comic book pacing, right? Like they're kind of paced a little weird if you're an 8 year old. It took me a little longer to appreciate them. But then like probably the Rise of Silver Surfer movie was like the first actual media, even though there was a Silver Surfer cartoon that aired for like one season, but then I think kind of disappeared. Like I don't think it
Hmm.
was getting rerun a lot when I was watching cartoons, right?
Yeah.
Um,
My
so
first instance coming across Galactus and Silver Surfer related iconography, we'll say, was in the fucking Fairly Odd Parents.
oh, you're right. Yeah, fucking
Yeah.
Crocker looks like Galactus when he's evil.
and
Uh,
then Timmy. I don't remember
oh
the
yeah, there's
context of
that one
it. He
too.
becomes
Yeah,
Galactimus, and the Fairly Odd Parents become like Silver Surfer esque representations.
yeah. I never remember. I don't remember the context for that one either. They're putting on a show. That's all I can remember is that they're trying to trick someone with that, but I don't remember what the context
Yeah,
is.
me neither. But
But
I remember that, and I googled it to make sure. Galactimus. That's very cute.
Fairly Odd Parents, very weird show.
Yeah,
Um,
very
where
very
it's
weird show.
it's like that was a very like big transitional cartoon where it's like it's a gag and episode series, right? But also had like its own internal lore and like
Mm-hmm.
complex mythology, like and character dynamics shifted and changed. Like that's kind of interesting when I think back to it. Um, but hey, that wow, I had totally forgotten that. Um, wow, oh,
Yeah, it's cool. At least it
that's
was
that's
cool. We'll
cool.
we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'll revisit that at some point.
Hey, I remember revisiting, but this has got to be like 10 years ago. So I was definitely going through a depressive episode 10 years ago, um, where like I definitely revisited it as an adult. And I was like, wow, Fairly Odd Parents kind of holds up, at least those first few seasons. I know Fairly Odd Parents was kind of like SpongeBob for a while, where it hung in there way longer than it should have, right? I think it
Hmm.
is finally over. I know that, and I also know like Butch Hartman's been like a weirdo like in recent years.
Hmm.
Uh, but I remember those first few seasons, probably up until they were doing the like crossover with Jimmy Neutron, right? Like I remember those being good. It doesn't hold up as Jimmy Neutron. Um,
Oh, that's sad to hear.
yeah, you know, it's not like It's not like terrible, but it is kind of like I can't believe I put up with this. What's a cartoon that like you remember loving that definitely didn't hold up on rewatch?
Uh, I haven't gone back to revisit them, and the stuff I have revisited has been pretty good, like the Justice
Mm.
League Unlimited stuff. I think I
Yeah.
mentioned I never went back to it, but rewatching that first episode of X Men Evolution, I was like, "Ooh, this is not as good as I remembered." But I didn't
Oh,
continue because
really?
maybe it got
Oh,
stronger.
that's a shame because I've been kind of like on the fence about revisiting X-Men Evolution.
I still would.
Like,
I think that I'm gonna get shot for this. I do think it's still like more interesting conceptually. Like I have memories that are like way cooler than maybe stuff that's in another preferred X Men show by certain
yeah.
fandoms that took place in the '90s.
Well,
And it
I'll
maybe
say
isn't
this
as cool as you remember it being.
to throw them a bone. I think we're a little older than the X-Men animated series, right? That the
Hmm.
one that aired in the '90s, and it wasn't getting rerun in the way Batman the animated series was. So we didn't. I was at least I wasn't exposed to it until like way later. Uh, I think what we responded to in X-Men Evolutions is that they were adapting a lot of famous comic book storylines, right?
Hmm.
That and here's the thing, X-Men, fucking great comic. Like the Chris
Hmm.
Claremont era of X-Men, one of the best runs of comics ever, and one that like it's one of those where I could be like, oh, do you want to get into like older comics? Read the Claremont X-Men's, right? Like you could
Yeah.
totally that I feel very confident pitching those to people. But our introduction to like, the Sentinels. Like I remember the episode of X-Men Evolutions where the Sentinels kidnapped everyone,
Hmm.
like where and I'm being like freaked out as a kid, like just being like, oh god, the X-Men lost, like, and but I didn't read that storyline, right? I wasn't familiar with any of the stuff that was in the comics. So I think the animated series from the '90s had a similar thing where they were adapting some of the greatest comic book stories of all time, superhero comic book stories of all time, and that when you do that, right, that you're like, oh, of course it looks awesome if that's your first introduction to that story, right?
Hmm.
Like, of course that's cool, because it's a good story.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but but yeah, I wonder if what happens in the first episode of X-Men Evolutions. I don't even know.
Now I'm having trouble remembering, but it's like they establish that the X Men they don't just go to school at the mansion; they live there and they go to like real public school. And I
Mm.
think that's like an interesting hook. So and I want
Yeah,
to
'cause
give it a fair shot. I want to watch it
that was
all the
like
way
the
through.
Buffy. it had a bit of a Buffy influence on it.
It
Like it
has a
had a sort
hardcore
of
Buffy influence to the point where like the opening theme, which is very cool, by the way. The '90s one has the cooler theme, obviously, but the Evolution theme is very fucking cool. Very early 2000s. But in that opening, there is straight up just like a recreation of a scene where Buffy and Faith are like crashing out in one of the clubs that they go to,
hmm,
but with Kitty Pryde and Rogue, because
okay.
they're like Kitty Pryde is the inspiration for Buffy, and Rogue is kind of the inspiration for Faith in a
I do
way like that.
remember I do remember it being kind of interesting on X-Men Evolutions of just the like they're going to school and like people are being like, oh, those mutants are fucking evil, right? Like so you have to like deal with bigotry without people knowing you're a mutant, right? I remember
Mm-hmm.
that being kind of the interesting angle of X-Men Evolutions. I also remember like Beast doesn't show up initially, like he comes a little bit later, so we get the origin of Beast, and I remember that being a pretty cool episode. Uh, but yeah, I've been on the fence about checking it out. Is it on Disney Plus? Like I assume
It's
it's
on
one of
Disney
those like
Plus, yeah, and I saw it, and I was
yeah.
gonna go back to it, and I don't have Disney Plus right now, and I'm not
Oh well.
hankering to repurchase a streaming service I will use for one show, so I'll get back to it later.
Well, too bad there's no other way to watch it.
Yep, if only, if
Here,
only.
actually, I don't think I've ever asked you this. How much like physical media do you actually own?
Jesus. Let me see.
I'm, I will not judge because I understand like that the big issue of physical media is just like the cost and then like having a place to store it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I'll put it this way: I've got shelves, and I've got closets, and I've got some drawers, and they're all filled up. So
okay, yeah.
yeah, I've got my
Because my
fair share right now.
because here's the thing: if you're not someone willing to do some sort of 5 finger discount on media, you can usually go to like a used DVD store these days, and you can buy like entire seasons. And back when seasons meant like 65 animated episodes, you can
Mm-hmm.
buy like entire seasons of cartoons for like $5 usually.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I know that's how I got like Dragon Ball Z or like Yu Yu Hakusho. Like I bought like all 4 volumes of Yu Yu Hakusho for maybe $20, which is like that's like over 100 episodes of an anime. So uh, yeah, that's it's cheaper than paying for a streaming service, especially if you're only doing one thing. Um, but so yeah, I'm definitely that might be I might have to go back to
Yeah.
that.
Oh, I
Uh,
want to give one last bit of credit to X Men Evolution, a show we're not here to talk about, but they also introduced the character of Spike, who I think it was pretty cool and very
oh
popular
yeah,
for
yeah,
the fandom, and kind of haven't done anything with him since then because it's probably one of those rights things like Static Shock, where it's like, well,
yeah.
technically, because it aired on the WB, it's not really, not really.
Yeah, WB probably takes some credit for it. Mm.
Yeah, so they'd probably have to pay Warner Brothers to use that character or whatever the
I
fuck.
know
But
that's a I know that's a big problem with the Tick. You know the Tick.
oh yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
there's like
because they
because
had
there's a
that
comic, but then
show.
there was an animated show, and then there were characters that were made specifically for the animated show. And I think Disney actually owns the animated Tick now, so they own those characters, but they don't own the Tick. And so like any character that appeared in that live action Tick show from like 5 years ago. Um, Whoever appeared in that was only characters that appeared in the comic. I know that's an
Mm,
issue with it. Um, so copyright's fun, kids. Um,
boo.
so let's to go back again to the origin of the Fantastic Four. You mentioned that like Fantastic Four isn't always it doesn't totally feel like a superhero comic, right? Like as a team,
Mm-hmm.
like they're the foundational family, they're the founding fathers essentially of the Marvel universe, but we don't always think of them as superheroes. At least some people don't. And a big part of that is because by the beginning of the 60s, we don't really know what superheroes are anymore, right? Like we're kind of just we're in the middle of the Silver Age has started. We're in the middle of like, the new iterations of the Flash and Green Lantern, right, over at DC. You got Superman comics. They're doing well, but they're not as big as they used to. And we're also post the whole like Frederick Wortham seduction of the innocent, comics are destroying the youth of America thing that really cracked down on what could appear in comics. And that basically killed like the horror comic genre for a while. It It led to, a lot of changes in what type of stories could be told. It led to an end of superheroes. Superheroes just aren't as big in the 50s outside of Superman, right? Like there was a huge
Hmm.
boom in the 30s, 40s, and that's all dead by the 50s. But at the time, there's a weird mix of like the hit comics are like Western comics, right? There's a lot of Western comics. There's funny animal comics. There's monster comics. There's not really horror comics. That does exist, but it's not as prevalent because horror was a lot harder to sell. But big monster stories were, which is what Marvel was mainly producing at this time. Um, yeah, there's science fiction comics, and that's usually like science team comics. And then like again, like like the romance stuff, and like Jack Kirby is kind of credited with creating the romance comic. Um, that so on top of all this shit, Jack Kirby helps create romance comics, which were big in this era because they couldn't do horror stories. Uh, but so the Fantastic Four is like a weird hedging of its bets, where they're not really a superhero team in the first few issues. They don't even have costumes in the first few issues, right? Like if you look at the cover of Fantastic Four #1, the Fantastic Four barely are noticeable. There's like it's the giant mole man monster that's attacking, right?
Hmm.
Like it's because they're still selling monster comics at the time. So it's like, oh, like that's the selling point, and these guys are kind of dwarfed, and they're all in their civilian clothing, so they're almost monsters themselves. You have the Thing in there, especially, who's all rocks, um, a very classic Jack Kirby creation. And so like that's what it was originally. It was a mix of like a science fiction story and a monster story, and then slowly became a superhero story. It says a lot that the other character gets created really close to this time is fucking the Hulk, right? And the Hulk is straight up a monster story. Hulk isn't a superhero at all in that early run, right? Um, what's just unique is they were both given their own titles, which they weren't doing at the time. You know,
Hmm.
by this point, one that, especially in the next, even though like they bring back Captain America, Iron Man gets established. Ant Man, I think, also appears around the Fantastic Four time, but was so much more of a science hero and not a superhero initially. In fact, I don't even think he's called Ant Man in his initial appearance. He's just Hank Pym. Um, and but they were all attached to stuff like Strange Tales or Journey into Mystery or Tales to Astonish. Right? They weren't given their own title, so it was unique that the Fantastic Four were given their own title. Right?
Hmm.
Um, and by the '60s, the only people with their own titles are Fantastic Four. They did the Hulk, but it only lasted like 8 issues and got canceled. And then Hulk jumped over to the Avengers, and then Hulk was eventually in, I think, Tales to Astonish, but didn't have his own explicit title. Um, the others are Spider Man, which famously he appears in Amazing Fantasy #15, and a series that had already been canceled, but was popular enough. And they were like, "Oh, let's do Spider-Man." And then he gets his own series, and then Daredevil's the other. That Daredevil's kind of the outlier, where Daredevil was the first one that was like fully created to just be an independent superhero comic, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and Daredevil like isn't the early run of Daredevil isn't bad, but it also doesn't stand out as much as you know some of the other stuff going on in Marvel at the time. Daredevil kind of gets really good later, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean,
not that
him.
initial.
Who are the guys that get better later? Like it's
Um,
him, the X Men.
X Men. X Men's weird, where they're kind of just like the X Men comic, especially under Kirby and Lee, was very much like here's the extra ideas we don't know what to do with, right?
Hmm.
And even then, you have to remember, like, even then, like, he's like, I don't know what to do with these ideas. And even then, Jack Kirby is just casually throwing out like fucking Magneto and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and the Savage Lands and Kazar and shit like that. He's still just casually throwing out like some of the best ideas in Marvel. But yeah, like that stuff gets better. Iron Man, I would argue gets better, right? Like Iron Man
Hmm.
isn't the strongest initially. Um, but then there's that weird stuff of like I don't know how strong this might be controversial to some of the diehards out there, but I don't know how strong like the Captain America run in that era is. But the Avengers run is pretty solid, right?
Hmm.
Like the early Avengers comics, pretty good, but not the individual stuff isn't as good in my opinion. So there's that whole angle to it. But the stuff that's like good from the start is like Fantastic Four, Spider Man, Avengers. Who else is good from the start? I guess Thor is good, but he's in
Thor.
Journey into Mystery, right?
Hmm.
Like, which that's very much a Jack Kirby putting all his ideas about like comparative mythology in there. So I always thought the really cool thing about Kirby is that he wanted to do Ragnarok for real. Like he wanted to straight up end the Thor comic, kill all the gods, and then that was when all the new gods ideas were going to come in, right?
Hmm.
He had
Yeah.
been
This
developing the
I
new
love this
gods,
story.
but because of again to bring it back to Surfer, because of him not getting any like royalties for the Surfer, any of the merchandising royalties, he's like, I'm not giving that shit to Marvel. So he took all that over to DC where he would get a better deal. And that's but like so you can basically read his comic up until Ragnarok, and even though Ragnarok doesn't end in everyone's death, but it still happens, and then you can stop and jump right over to the fourth world stuff he was doing over in DC. Like that's where the story continues, which is really interesting. It's a weird meta text, and his fourth world stuff probably being the best thing Kirby did, right? Like,
Yeah. That's the
like it's
totemic Kirby, I think.
and is basically unadaptable. Like it would have to
Hmm.
be the greatest superhero movie of all time to do the new gods fourth world justice, right? And I know they're
Yeah.
gonna try, and Orion's probably gonna talk about his dick a lot, but
Hey,
yeah,
hey,
it'll be great.
hey.
It'll
Maybe
be
he's got it out of his system.
sure, yeah, but not brand X, but so there's that whole angle too. But yeah, like that's the really good stuff. And then it's like think in like the first like few issues of Fantastic Four, he's like he establishes the Fantastic Four, the Skrulls, and Doctor Doom like really quickly. And it's just like all this stuff is going to be so important. He establishes so quickly, and then what no one really talks about is that the whole Inhumans storyline is the storyline that happens right before the Galactus trilogy. That the like some of the Inhumans have been introduced before that, but the whole like here's who the Inhumans are. They live on the moon.
Hmm.
Like they're really important. They're like a whole civilization. That is the pre Galactus trilogy storyline, and it's equally as good. It's really good stuff. So there's like a 10 issue run towards the middle of the Kirby run of Fantastic Four. No, not even like the first fourth of it. That is like some of these like huge ideas. Some of the best stuff Marvel ever put out, frankly. Um, and I remember there's a great book called like The Untold History of Marvel that's really good. And they really capture that like once you get to the Galactus trilogy, that like the vibe was this is something that shouldn't be happening in comics. This is almost dangerous that they're getting this big. It was for all intents and purposes the Galactus trilogy was the end game of its era for comics without it being like this majorly overbloated crossover event. But it had that power. And I think part of the reason why, even though there's great stuff afterwards, he still does like Adam Warlock and Annihilus and characters like that post Galactus. But I think Kirby is a lot more reluctant post that trilogy to do anything big because he didn't get the royalties to Silver Surfer, right? He didn't want to give over
Hmm.
some of his best ideas post that. Someone points out though he does the negative zone in that era, and the negative zone when you read that feels like the fucking trip at the end of 2001, and it predates 2001 by like 4 or 3 years. Yeah, like if you want to know what like the power of superheroes was at the time, it's again, it's like we're not on the moon yet, and like we're doing all this like big stuff in these comics. We sort of like now culture and history is caught up that like superheroes aren't that far fetched anymore in terms of what their adventures are. That like, but like now we don't really know what to do with them,
Hmm.
frankly. Uh, but at this time, it was really ahead of its time and dangerous and really inspiring. It's there's that George R. R. Martin's first published writing as a fan letter to Fantastic Four.
I remember it being a fan letter. I didn't remember Fantastic Four though.
It's specifically Fantastic Four, and it's him being like Fantastic Four number 30, whatever, is like the greatest superhero story ever written. He's like, you guys have topped yourselves again. Like, I love this. I can't believe how good these are. So, like, just imagine like that's how influential this shit was.
Yeah.
That and it's also and that is like some forgettable story with like Power Man. But like at the time it was like really radical stuff. And yeah, like I can't really put it into words how influential Jack Kirby's work was on the Fantastic Four at this time. It might not seem that way now, but the culture is massively indebted to that stuff. Um, but it's
And I
also
think,
what makes Fantastic Four so weird in terms of like adapting it later.
yeah, and I think I mean, ultimately, it's part of the problem with like all these superhero properties, like being adapted and even new stuff popping up. Like, are you still looking forward, or are you just doing another one? You know,
Yeah.
like, what's like a real shock to the system lately? Like, even my beloved Hickman Ultimate Spider-Man, Hickman, who also has an incredible Fantastic Four run, naturally. Um, like I'm loving Ultimate Spider-Man. It's a great step forward into what I always wanted to see with this character, and it'll end soon, you know. But
Yeah.
it's even that like jolt. I'm like, okay, it's like it's a stepping stone. It's a first step. Um, and
Hey.
but it's not gonna be it's not gonna change the game for this stuff anymore
Yeah.
because they
Well, you know,
just they're not designed to do that anymore. They're designed to just put out a product, and not that they weren't pumping out products back then when Kirby was writing them either.
yeah.
But I do want people. I the problem is we see the potential of this stuff, and it's like you do kind of want this shit if you're a fan to like push boundaries in ways, figure out like the next evolution of this stuff. You know,
Mm.
'cause we're kind
Well,
of going in circles, even if the circles
I
can be very
think
exciting.
I think the big issue, and it's honestly one where like it's like if this is what we had to give up, if we had to give up the rapid inventiveness of superhero comics, the mainstream ones anyway, to get this, I think it was worth it. Which is just that now writers are a lot more financially savvy. Um, if I am doing contract work, if I'm getting paid commission work to write Fantastic Four, I'm not going to create anything for Marvel,
Hmm.
right? I'm not giving them something that they're going to own, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to give them an idea that they could cash in on massively. I'm going to use what was already there, right? I'm
Hmm.
going to use pieces that already exist in the comics because I don't want to invent anything because I want to own it. And I think for the majority, like up until the 90s, when you get the independent kind of comic revolution, that was the attitude of most people writing for comics that they were just like, I'm just doing commission and whatever. Like, who cares? Right. And now people are a lot more savvy about being like, they're going to make fucking movies out of this stuff. I don't want to give them that and then get nothing, right?
Hmm.
I know that there's a better payment plan than there used to be. I remember a story. I remember hearing Denny O'Neil, the late great Denny O'Neil, um, who was giving an interview with someone. He said, like, yeah, when the first Iron Man came out, it was cool to see Ironmonger in there because I created that character. And he was like, he's only in it a little bit, but it was cool. And he wasn't like making a stink or anything. He was like, it was cool. I saw Ironmonger there. And Joe Quesada, who was the editor in chief of Marvel at the time, called up Denny O'Neil and was like, oh, you know what? We didn't realize you owned Ironmonger. Here's royalties for letting us use the character. Like, which they really didn't have to do. There was no contract that enforced that they had to give royalties to Denny O'Neil for the character of Ironmonger. But the
Hmm.
attitude definitely has changed where they will kind of give some royalties to people, even if that wasn't the initial contract. I don't know if that's true post Disney merger, right? Like, I think that was a little before this. But there definitely
Hmm.
was a time where Marvel was at least willing to go, like, okay, we'll go back and we'll give you a little bit more money than we did in perpetuity for creating a character, right? They were at
Yeah.
least willing to do that. Now, Denny O'Neil maybe got like $10,000 for a character that was in a $200 million plus movie, right? I'm not
Yeah.
saying Denny O'Neil got like a huge paycheck, uh, but he got money. Like that's still better than nothing, right? So
Hmm.
I know it's changed, but yeah, it's but Denny O'Neil also, I think that was the same interview where Denny O'Neil was like, yeah, kids, if you're gonna work for comics, like, make sure you get a really good deal if you're going to create a character for him. He's like, don't create anything for him unless you're going to get a really good deal for it. And I also think that's why I think Scott Snyder had that similar problem where he created the Court of Owls for his first arc of his Batman story, which is like one of the best Batman arcs in recent memories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he create and then a lot of his subsequent stuff, I'm not saying he didn't create anything, but a lot of his subsequent stuff was mostly using pre-established material, right? Like
Yeah, like every once in a while you get
post.
like a Doctor Bloom or something really exciting, but
Yeah.
then it's the Ultimate Spider-Man thing where it's like, all right, here's a little remix on stuff. Here's maybe a
Yeah.
different approach to the Joker a little bit.
And again, when you see what happened to Kirby, like of course, like a big Kirby is like a big reason for the huge creators' rights movement that happens because people are being like, it's shameful that Jack Kirby isn't getting royalties for this stuff. Like Jack Kirby, Jack the King Kirby, which is how he was credited on a lot of the Marvel issues, which was Stan Lee's invention, by the way. Uh, like that, a lot of that stuff, and then it's like, and this guy isn't getting royalties for that stuff. Uh, like it was very shameful. I remember what's his name? Frank Miller really attached himself to that in that era. Frank Miller was the one being like, it's shameful that Kirby isn't getting his due. I think he even wrote a eulogy. He wrote the eulogy for Jack Kirby. He either spoke it at some event or wrote it for like the Comics Journal, and it's a very like the majority of it is like fuck the industry for how they treated Jack Kirby, right?
Wow.
Like here's the quote. I actually quoted that eulogy in my negative review for Deadpool and Wolverine. Uh, so here's a quote from Frank Miller's eulogy for Jack Kirby. He's like, "Here's one lie you can almost forgive them, given the current condition of its source. Marvel Comics is trying to sell you all the notion that the characters are the only important component in comics, as if nobody ever had to create those characters, as if the audience is so brain dead it can't tell a good job from a bad one. You can almost forgive them this, since their characters aren't leaving them in droves like the talent is. For me, it's a bit of a relief to finally see Marvel's old work made for hire, talent don't matter mentality put to the test. We've all seen the results. They aren't even rearranging the deck chairs."
Fuck.
That was his quote. And that was in the midst of the creative independent boom of the '90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is Marvel's lowest point. Marvel, within a few years, is declaring for bankruptcy, right? All their talent just like left and found an image, and then, you know, uh, and then they're hurting big time by the end of the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was a real big era. And it does feel like that's what the movies are inching towards, honestly. Uh,
Yep.
but yeah, like it's. I think that really. I feel similarly. This is gonna be weird, but I feel similarly about the Muppets. Like this is why no one can do the Muppets justice anymore, because the Muppets were Jim Henson's creation in part with all the talented people he was working with, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
all those guys. He's like without people like Frank Oz, like if you don't have these guys there, you can't do it. And who's going to join the Muppets and want to make a new Muppet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not going to own it. Disney's going to own it. But now you can't reinvent the Muppets. Like you can't add characters. Whereas like someone like fucking oh god, I was trying to think of his name. I can't remember the name. But like a lot of these creatives in their time were like every time they sat down to write, they brought something new to the table. And like who's going to do that now? You know?
Yeah.
I also think that's something that's going to fuck Star Wars going forward, right? Like Star Wars is a little bit different, but
But you're
it's
right. You're definitely
yeah,
right. It's something. I
like you're
mean,
not
it's what's fucking killed their fucking streaming shows.
yeah,
It's
like
it's
it's
too the
all
snake's eating its own tail too much. You hear people
it's
talking
eating its
like,
own tail.
"Oh, yeah."
And who's going to give their best ideas to this stuff, right? And if you're not
Mm-hmm.
getting people who are going to give their best ideas to it, you're going to get people who just want their name on something, you know? You're going to get people who just want to be like, I want my name on Star Wars, you know? And they have no desire. It's the, Jay Leno at least had to fight to do nothing interesting with the Tonight Show, right? Like he had to fight for that mediocrity. Now the mediocrity is baked into the system that no one is going to want to. reinvent the wheel because you're not going to be George Lucas next. You're going to be the guy who works on 3 or 4 Star Wars things, and then Disney owns it. You know, that's where the culture's at.
Whoever
And
are you referring to?
hey, now, I mean,
Anyways, Ahsoka
frankly, I could
season
be
two,
referring to
2026.
I could be referring to a lot of people right
You
now.
could be.
Frankly,
My
hey,
brain
look,
went to one.
hey, look, Filoni's one of the smarter guys about it. Like Filoni has made a brand of himself.
No, he has. He
Like
has. Yeah.
imagine if they went, we're firing Dave Filoni next week. Like, even if we're two guys being like, we don't like his recent output, it's also like, yeah, but Filoni was at least doing stuff. Like, Filoni at least
Mm,
had a vision. Like, Favreau is like a slightly step up, but because he's, no offense to Favreau, but he's an older guy, so his interest in Star Wars is like Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. So, like, that's what he's riffing on. He doesn't realize a lot of the stuff he's riffing on has already been riffed on about 1,000 times,
hmm
you know? But then there are like people a step below that even that are just being like, we don't have anything to say with Star Wars, right?
hmm
And occasionally you get a guy coming being like, yeah, but what if our protagonist was Stalin? And then you're like, what? He's like, 2 seasons, I'm done. And then you're like, oh, you made the best thing Star Wars has done in 10 years. Oh well, thanks for that. My cat is crying right next to the microphone, so
Yeah, they're
head
upset
up,
too.
heads up.
It's
Yeah,
fine. It's
he's got
fine.
he's got a take on Star Wars, uh, but
Um, all that being said, is there anything else you want to add to the history of the Fantastic Four? Or can I bring up some other um
oh,
I'll call them aborted appearances and spin-offs because there's a handful of stuff that almost happened in the lead up to First Steps.
we can get to that. Let me see if I can find this real quick. This was something I should have looked up. Final issue, Silver. So we mentioned the whole kerfuffle with Jack Kirby and the Silver Surfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who owns the character. When Stan Lee goes to do the Silver Surfer series, when he goes to write it, Jack Kirby is not the co-writer. Is not the artist for the Silver Surfer comic. It's a different guy. I can't remember who did it. Um, who was it? Was it John Romita? It might have been John Romita in there, who was like kind of the like pinch hitter guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they brought him in to do a lot of that stuff, but comic wasn't selling very well. It was basically on the verge of cancellation. Uh, deadlines weren't being met. Stan Lee, for the final issue of Silver Surfer, was like, Jack Kirby, can you pinch hit on this? Um, can you write this final issue? And the final issue of Silver Surfer is the Silver Surfer fighting Jack Kirby's other big creation, the Inhumans, the other big Fantastic Four creation. And it was the last thing he wrote for Marvel before he jumped ship. So the last thing he wrote was the final issue of Silver Surfer number 18. And he comes back, obviously. I don't think it was the last thing published that he worked on, but it was officially the last thing he worked on under contract. And I just want to read some of Surfer's dialogue from that final issue. So remember, this is right before Jack Kirby leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, since a fiendish fate has trapped me with a hostile race in a nightmare world, I'll forget my heritage, blot out my space-orn ethic. No longer will I yeah, this person has no longer will I resist their earthly madness. No longer mine a lonely voice pleading peace in a world of strife. From this time forth, the Silver Surfer will battle them on their own savage terms. Let mankind beware. From this time forth, the Surfer will be the deadliest of them all.
What an outro.
So he might have left on bitter terms, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And it's over a very classic Jack Kirby pained face, taking up the whole frame of just, yeah. Um, so and that's when he does Fourth World. He does come back, and when he comes back is when he does the Eternals characters. He does, um, a run on Captain America, which isn't that great, unfortunately. It's not bad, but it's not that great. And that's kind of the last big stuff he does in comics. He does some subsequent work. The other one, he also created OMAC,
Oh
the
yes, the
character of
OMAC from
OMAC,
DC.
which when you read it in the 70s, it's like this dude fucking predicted cyberpunk. Like it's such a pre-cyberpunk character, and you're like, holy shit, what the fuck, Kirby? Like you're like, by the way, before I'm done, here's cyberpunk too. It's pre-Blade Runner, man. Like it's like wow. Um, the lesson obviously I'm trying to impart is we shouldn't give one guy absolute credit, but also Kirby fucking holy shit. Like Kirby did a lot. Kirby did a shit ton. Um,
I
yeah.
don't think I knew the
So it's a,
OMAC one. That's crazy.
yeah. And also, when you think about some of the villains that pop up a lot in some of the big DC Marvel events, guess who created a lot of them? You know, guess
Yeah.
who? It's Kirby. They're still going to the well of Kirby, right?
Hmm.
Like they're still going to that. You know who I think is one of the only guys he didn't fucking do is Thanos. Like
Wow.
which is a Jim Starlin joint. And Jim Starlin's like the other guy who like is like, what if fucking Kirby just got high a lot? Like, what if Kirby got high and was one of the angriest guys writing comics? And that's how you get Jim Starlin. so uh so it's like, yeah, like he's one of like that's one of the few creations that is still as impactful outside of the X-Men, because Chris Claremont's X-Men is the other big thing.
Hmm.
But like we're still going to the Kirby well. The other one is the Ditko well, obviously. Um, it's always hard. Ditko's a harder nut to crack because Steve Ditko does sound genuinely impossible to work with when you read a lot of those interviews, right?
Hmm.
Like I think the famous story with Ditko is one of the issues I think Spider-Man or I think it might have been Doctor Strange actually. Uh, there was a blurb on the front, one of the classic uh, Stanley blurbs, and it said something like, "This comic was voted most likely to succeed by Stan and Steve." And I apparently before it was published, Steve Ditko wrote like a furious letter to the editors at Marvel, being like, "I didn't vote in any contest. Like I didn't vote for shit. I didn't vote that this would be most likely to succeed." So that the last minute they had to change it to voted most likely to succeed by Stan and Baron Mordo. um, And that's Stanley, Stanley who obviously did like a really limp dick effort of crediting people on things. But at one point, he wrote some editorial for the Comics Journal where he's like, I always considered Steve Ditko to be the co creator of Spider Man. He's like, yes, I wrote a lot of it, but Steve Ditko is 100% the co creator. He deserves 100% of that credit. Like, we made it together. He said, he's like, I did that. He was like, Stanley, this is Stanley talking. He's like, I wrote that editorial. And then Steve Ditko wrote a response being like, when you say you consider something, that means to infer something, which means you don't actually believe I'm the co creator. And Stanley was like, after that, I just gave up. He was like, I didn't say shit afterwards. Now, I don't think that's a great excuse, Stan, but it does sound like Steve Ditko is a little bit of a tough nut to crack in
Hmm.
terms of doing that stuff. Um, and and also like he made a stink, but a lot of people have said like he did get a lot of royalty checks in his later days, right? But we don't know a lot. We don't know a lot. There's like only like one audio recorded interview with Steve Ditko ever, right? Like there's like
I've
one
never heard.
there's one and it's him talking about like Mr. A, one of his psychotic characters, right? One of
Hmm.
like the ones that is like I believe there's a Mr. A story that's literally like we shouldn't try to rehabilitate drug dealers because they made their choice in life and they will just turn evil again.
Oh my
Like
god.
the yeah, Steve Ditko was an insane person,
Yeah.
right? Like which is why we have to give Stan Lee some credit because Stan Lee would never write a story like that, you
Hmm.
know? Like Stanley would never write a story that ended that way. But yeah, there's like only like one audio recorded interview with him and like 5 pictures in circulation, right? Um, you know, he was never in the office. He did all his work remotely. That's the other Stanley thing is that when he was writing those bulletins, in the back of Fantastic Four, he'd be like, "Yeah, the boys around the office were all laughing up, we're cutting up, all coming up with fun stories for our readers," and like that. The Marvel bullpen was like a total fiction. Like that didn't exist, right?
Hmm.
There obviously was an office that people worked at, but like Jack Kirby was like, it wasn't like how Stan described it. Like I did most of my work remotely. Most of us did our work remotely. Like that, like obviously there were Marvel offices, but we didn't, there wasn't the fun loving attitude that Stan Lee imparted. But Stan knew how to market that shit, right? And he was like, here's how you're
Hmm.
on the Marvel team. He put out a record, man, that was supposed to be like comedy skits and songs that featured all the actual writers and editors that working at Marvel Comics at the time, who, guess what, don't have great singing singing voices or comedic timing.
But he knew how to market that shit.
You hear that? You can look it up, like the Merry Marvel Marching Society record. If you look it up, you get why Stan Lee was the face of Marvel. Like he's the one guy with like a lot of genuine charisma, and everyone else is performing like they're at gunpoint. Like it's very awkward. Although guess who isn't on there? Steve Ditko. Steve Ditko
Mm.
isn't on the record, but there is a bit in it where it's like, where's Steve Ditko? He just jumped out the window. He has mic fright, right? That's like a bit I remember in it. And it's like, and Stan Lee is like, out the window again? I'm starting to think he really is Spider-Man. I, I remember that so vividly. Also, that's a all right. Sorry, I'm just weird Stan Lee stories. I think in the first Spider-Man annual, there's a like behind the scenes. Here's how we write Spider-Man type thing, right?
Hmm.
That's and it's a very like here's the Marvel method, which the Marvel method is basically like Stanley comes up with the story and passes it off to the artist. And we're also talking recently. I don't know if you've been following the story, but recently, Roy Thomas, who's kind of the heir to the Stanley throne in the '70s, who's credited on a lot of comics, is under a lot of fire right now for having his name as the sole writer on a lot of stories that he didn't write at all, but through the Marvel method got credit for. One of the women who went uncredited writing on Red Sonja has been making a stink recently about how little Roy Thomas actually had to do for those characters. So there's a lot of that going on. But there's a thing in the back of the first Spider-Man annual that's like, here's how Stan and Steve write Spider-Man, and it's like Stan Lee being like, oh, I had a blast of inspiration, and then I wrote it all down and I sent it off to Steve, and there's like a character version of Steve Ditko being like, ugh, Stan is so annoying with all these ideas. I hate that he calls me up at like the worst hours. He's like, here's how I improved on some of Stan's ideas. Here's how I drew it. Here's, oh, Stan was a little vague here. Here's how I cleared it up. And the gag at the end of it is Steve Ditko, a comic book character. Obviously, Steve Ditko didn't write any of this. This is not Steve Ditko's voice at all. He drew it, but definitely didn't write it. And the end joke is Steve Ditko being like, finally, I'm done. I can get some sleep. And then you cut to Stan Lee waking up in bed being like, I just got another brilliant Spider-Man idea. So, you know, um, yeah. But, but Stanley was a complicated guy. Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
No, definitely. But
The
look,
sad
he was
sad
the
thing is
face of the company
Stan.
for a reason.
Yeah, and look, the really frustrating thing is Stanley was genuinely too likable. Like, there's a part of me that's like, I feel like I'm beating up my grandpa when I attack Stan Lee, like, because he was such the face of Marvel, you know. And we knew him in the era of like, old man Stanley, where he'd come up and be like, "Oh, isn't Spider Man a good character?" And also, bigotry is bad, and being like, "You're right, Stanley.
I
You're
guess
ab-
one person can make a difference. You know,
exactly like that was him, right? Like
or
that was the era of Stanley we got. We didn't
yeah,
get the other one.
or what was his last one? I think it was Into the Spider Verse, where he's like, the suit always fits
Yeah,
eventually.
and then it says no return
Yeah, which is
refunds,
maybe
which
the perfect summation of Stanley. It's like,
100%.
oh, really sweet. Oh yeah, like
It's sincere and also, but also Stanley, in the margins, he was like he's genuinely sincere and also is not hiding the fact that he's ripping you off,
mm-hmm.
which is part of the Stanley thing. So it's like you get ripped off by the guy and you're like, that's Stan.
Yeah, it's like, yep, you got me.
Yeah. It only became a problem when like millions of dollars in people's healthcare was on the line.
Yeah,
That's when it
yeah.
became a bigger problem. So, all right. So yeah, sorry I had to front load that, but I am like, I'm a big fan of that stuff. If you want to
No,
get into, if you want to really get into the old stuff, I would say like Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 2 is like the really good one, which contains the Galactus trilogy, right? Like that's when they've
mhm,
really hit their stride. The second half of his run on Fantastic Four. So that's like a good jumping on point for
yeah.
old style comics.
Mhm. Which operate very differently than modern comics. Like a lot of
Yeah.
standalone stories and everything too. Not like leading into that, but not directly leading into that. The way stories lead into each other nowadays. So just like going with that approach. Like, um, but I think that's fine. I find that really engaging in its own way. It's not. I don't think that should be a hang up for people. I think you should, if you embrace it, it's a really interesting and new, fun way to experience these stories. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, yeah, it's the shared universe without shared universes as we know them now. Like it's a better platonic ideal of the shared universe, frankly. Like, in my opinion, where it's just like, yes,
No.
they're connected, but they aren't like you don't need to know every single fucking issue to know what's going on.
Yeah, which is sort of how these things should operate.
And
You can't keep doing what you're
I
doing
think
with the
it's another
crossovers.
I think it's another Stan Leeism of like every comic is someone's first comic, so you have to write it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like you gotta remember that someone's picking up their first issue of the comic for the first time, and that's definitely not how they write superhero comics anymore. Um, and maybe we're past that. Maybe like I like it really does feel like is the shared universe superhero comic book is like a bygone concept,
Mm-hmm.
like it feels out of date, right? Like whereas I feel like that's why like manga is so big right now because you can just go like, where do I start with One Piece? And you're like, volume one of One Piece,
Yeah.
idiot. And it's not like impossible to get a hold of either,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not they aren't like hard to track down some of these issues. And it's like, oh well, what changes over One Piece? Like just the story. It's the same guy writing and drawing all of it. Like it's and I think people are more interested in that type of stuff. Whereas like no one's sitting there being like, yeah, but when is One Piece going to cross over with Naruto, right? Like
Yeah. When
no
does
one's,
Goku show up in One Piece?
yeah, exactly. No one's asking for that
Mm-hmm.
these days. Like obviously that's like a cool thing people want. Like it's a cute thing, but it's not the selling point of comics anymore. The individual worlds themselves that are good deliver enough on their concept that they're entertaining,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I do think superhero comics have just fallen behind where still even the independent comics you do get the sense that people are like, this is what I would write if I was given Superman, but I haven't been given Superman, and I want to own my creation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like that's just the era we're in, when there's a good independent superhero comic. Are there even good independent superhero comic series right now? I feel like there's good independent comics, but they're different genres these days.
I
Um,
I'm sure there are. I just don't know about them because I'm barely stepping foot back into comics.
yeah,
Like
like
I
Invincible is
haven't
the
been
big one.
that curious about other stuff recently.
Like Invincible's the big one right now. Invincible's been published for like over 15 years now, right? Like,
Well, it ended like 10 years ago.
oh, okay, I'm way off. Like,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
Invincible existed a lot longer, um, and was this. But yeah, like that's the last one I can really like. We're now just adapting the indie comics. We're not even really doing indie superhero comics.
Yeah,
Um,
again, I'm sure there's stuff out there that I just don't know. Like, I recently walked by a comic shop after watching the new Naked Gun with some friends, which is a masterpiece, by the way. Like one of the
I'll
funniest
probably
fucking
see
things I've
that
ever
this
seen.
weekend.
Oh, it's
Uh,
so you're gonna fucking lose your mind.
I'm gonna
But
love it. Hopefully,
yeah, but I was walking past like some indie comics, and I was like, "Oh, I hate Fairyland. I love this comic." And other people were like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's this great fucking riff on like sort of like an Alice in Wonderland type thing." And they'd never heard of it, and I think that's just the experience with certain indie comics now. It's like it's really hard for stuff to become the next Invincible, and if
yeah,
it does, we're gonna hear about it later or discover
yeah.
it later. You know.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, it's weird. I think I've brought this up a few times. Like the comic book industry actually grew in recent years, but Marvel and DC shrank in sales. Like that's been the weird thing lately.
Hmm.
And I do give a lot of credit to manga. Like I think it's just that's so massive right now comparatively, right?
Yeah.
And
And
I think
then
we see a lot of Western writers imitating that style and structure more than superhero comics.
I think something like Invincible kind of is just like it's kind of taking the wind out of other stuff's sales, like in terms of the big
Mm,
two, where it's like it's very clearly influenced. Like, okay, what like the character's based on Nightwing's appearance, but has the powers of Superman, and oh look, his Jor-El is evil. Huh,
yeah.
interesting. I wonder if that's going to pop up anywhere else. Oh, what? The not Kryptonian species are all evil conquerors from across the stars? That's never come up in any adaptations, you know? Oh, what? There's like a reptilian type man beast creature that he has to fight at some point. I wonder what that's related to. You know, it's like there's
And-
total just riffs on stuff like that, and it's some of the coolest stuff
yeah.
in Invincible. I'm a fan. Um, like I get it, you know.
I'm not judging either. Like that's in manga too. Like where it's just like, oh, this is this person's take on an arc that happened in a different comic, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
in a different
totally.
manga series. The Chimera Ant arc of Hunter x Hunter is 100% a riff on the Cell arc from Dragon Ball Z. Like it's very much a like a deconstructed version of it. And also I think Invincible just hit at the right time where it's like people are ready to move on from Marvel a little bit, right? Like whether or not they're fully ready to move on, but like they're in a downswing. It's not the cultural juggernaut it was pre Endgame, right?
Hmm.
It's just not there anymore. And it's the boys is out there, but the boys is like a little too strong for some people. So we want
Hmm.
like a post.
And
We
about to
want like the
wrap up.
yeah, and then people want the postmodern superhero story, and that's like here's Invincible. You can jump in at episode one, and like you don't have to know like all this history, right?
Yeah,
So it's very
and
good
it
for
will
people who still
end
want
within 10 years.
yeah, but it's just very easy for people who are ready for something, aren't ready to let go of Marvel, but are ready for something new that don't want the baggage that comes with Marvel. So it's very easy to jump ship, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you're like, I wasn't a Marvel, I'm not into it as much anymore. I'm not even a hater, I'm just not into it. Oh, Invincible is a really easy thing to onboard myself to.
Mm. And look,
And
some stuff just becomes old hat. It doesn't matter if people even still like it, because like, look, people seem to really like this Fantastic Four movie. But it's not gonna do gangbusters like it
yeah,
used to do. It's not gonna make as much as
yeah.
Superman. And sorry to talk about fucking
And
numbers, but I think that's important.
it's riffing on a story that is almost 50 years old at this point. Like the Galactus trilogy was 50 years ago in Marvel Comics. It
Hmm.
took the culture a little bit of time to catch up to it, right? Like it
Yeah.
took, but now it's late to the party in terms of an adaptation, right?
Yeah. I think I've talked
So,
about it before, but like talking to 5 movies a year friends, wonderful people. Hello, Daphne and Talone, if you're listening. You're not, but hello. But they were like, they're doing another Fantastic Four movie? Like, really? Those other ones were so bad. That's when I knew. I was like, oh, fuck. Like, that's going to be a problem for them down the line.
yeah.
Uh, and, like, I mean, it's not just riffing on the original comic, too. This is basically like no, we're gonna do Rise of the Silver Surfer again, but good. It's basically what the X-Men did with Dark Phoenix for the movie after Last
Yeah.
Stand. Although this is a
When
better
does
movie
Dark
than Dark
Phoenix come
Phoenix,
out?
I will say.
When does Dark Phoenix come out?
That's still one of my favorite bits. Um, but
Who was
yeah,
that guy? Who made Dark Phoenix?
Simon Kinberg.
Is he one of the unsung villains of the industry? Because his name keeps popping up on like the worst shit.
Well, he works in many parts of the industry, so I think he's a swell guy. I'm sure he's great. He seems cool to me.
I'll change my opinion on him if he'll pay for my medical bills and get me new teeth.
Valid.
That's what I'll. But until then, I'm talking shit about everyone.
Completely valid.
There's no point
Um,
to be strategic in my position.
yeah, Dark Phoenix didn't work either
Uh,
time. Rise of the Silver
yeah,
Surfer didn't work. First Steps. It seemed to work for a lot of people.
it's certainly a step up.
I mean, by default, it's the best one, right?
You're not even gonna give me a pity fuck you for
No,
that
no, no, no,
one.
no, 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 no. Um, we didn't like this movie. I thought it
uh,
was fucking boring, dude. Like,
no, yeah, no, that was my reaction into it. I'm just like watching it and being like, when is something gonna happen? Like, really, I don't think I've seen a more and then movie in a long time than
yeah.
Fantastic Four First Steps. Like,
What
what?
happened? You know,
I
like,
I have no idea. Also, it's like this is a cast that's like made of liquid charisma, right?
mm-hmm.
Like, and it feels like they all have guns on them, being like, don't have any charisma with each other. Don't be engaging in any capacity possible.
Pedro Pascal, who is just like dripping with sex appeal,
Yeah,
is the most boring, sexless version of himself humanly
yeah.
possible. I don't think anyone's bad in the movie. I think
No, it's
they're
when
not capable of being bad, but they're so
when you
subdued.
when you take them in isolation, they're actually doing pretty interesting things. I think Pedro Pascal is actually giving a really interesting, subtle performance as Reed Richards. I think
He is,
he's
yeah.
trying, he's trying something different, and it's not what we're used to from him, and it's something that, on its own, I like. But it's a team movie, and it doesn't congeal with any of the rest of the team, frankly, who all feel like they're in their own movie.
Yeah.
And some of them don't feel like they have anything to work with, honestly.
I
But
was gonna save that, but let's just say, hey, what do Johnny Storm and the Thing do in this movie?
Johnny Storm goes to the Thing goes to a synagogue, right? I'm glad they at
Mm-hmm.
least acknowledge that he's Jewish.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that was nice.
yeah. That I wonder. A part of me is a little nervous that there might have been some stuff cut from that sequence, not because there was any statement about the state of Israel or anything like that, but I do feel like we're unfortunately at a time where people are being like, we can't do overtly Jewish stuff right now. It's a little bit of a hot button issue, which is not the takeaway people should be taking from
Yeah,
what's going on.
yeah,
I
not
think
at
it's a
all.
bad sign. Is a bad sign of things, frankly.
I'm gonna
Uh,
give the movie a little credit. I'm this thing's kind of like it moves too fast. We talked about like nothing really. It felt like nothing was happening. It was and then movie, but like also a bunch of stuff does happen, and I also don't have a grasp on it. It does feel like the movie's playing in
yeah.
fast forward, and I'm willing to bet because this is under 2 hours. I'm willing to fucking bet there's a bunch of Ben Grimm shit that's just not in the
Yeah.
movie now.
There's a part of me that wonders if there's a better version of this that's 3 hours long. But there's also a part of me that thinks that if there is a longer version of this, it might just be a longer version of and
Mm-hmm.
then, and then, right? That because they never found a way to kind of make all these things link. And I think a big reason why it has such an and then quality is because each of the Fantastic Four are such an isolation from each other in terms of what they're dealing with. And they never congeal really until like the very end of the movie. Not any even in a like this is a conflict way, just in a like this is where the stories converge. That a lot of stuff that is essentially an arc doesn't feel like one until the last minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
That so maybe when they would have been, but so like it would have still felt like a lot of this stuff was happening in isolation from one another. Um, Very frustrating movie, honestly. Uh, very very boring, in my opinion. But again, a lot of people's gonna like it. I don't know. I don't know what they're watching. Um,
Well, there's shit in here that we should be going like gaga over, you know, where it's like they got the super apes, but they cut the red ghost, you know. So even I can't
yeah,
get geeked out about that too much. Mole Man's fucking great. Mole Man should be the fifth Fantastic member. It should be the Fantastic
yeah.
Five.
Here's the thing. I do like that where it's post like Mole Man already had his war with the surface and
Yeah.
has come to terms with everyone, right? I do like that it's post that because look, I love Mole Man, but like you can't really build a movie around Mole Man. Like I get that. Like it'd have to be a great fucking movie.
Hmm.
I get why I get the impulse to skip that, but goddamn, I do wish he was in the movie a little more.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Shout out
like
Letterbox Mutual Paul Walter Hauser.
he is so good. He is. What is that, man? Um,
He's just fucking got it. Like, I'm not just saying that because I'm one of the handful of people he follows on Letterboxd. Like, he's really good. He's
And why
great in
is
everything.
he has such good range too. Like what's going on? Um
I mean, some people are
I
just
just
they're just capable of that, you know. I mean,
yeah.
fucking Pedro Pascal can do that too, you know. Clearly,
Yeah.
again, not bad in this movie. Like he's capable of a lot of different modes, you know.
Mhm. I wonder if he got cut down because this movie ended up coming so close to the release of Naked Gun.
Oh, you think
I
they
want
were like worried it was going to steal their thunder or something?
I was worried they would be like, oh, well, now we've made people excited for this guy, and if they want to see more of him, they're not going to come see Fantastic Four again. They're going to go to the next movie he's in.
I want to say that's a little paranoid, but that's like 100% how these people think and operate. So maybe.
I mean, look, that's literally like when they had Julie Andrews in Aquaman, and then they released Aquaman on the same day as Mary Poppins Returns.
Oh yeah, and it just obliterated Mary
Yeah,
Poppins, which is hilarious.
like that was a weird like that's some weird passive aggressive shit right there.
Mm.
Uh, so I wouldn't
Also,
be.
just for myself, I went to Six Flags yesterday, and they have a DC Universe section, right? So I went on like the Wonder Woman ride, which is fucking insane. By the way, I was not prepared for that. That does
Is
not
that
feel like a
it?
safe ride.
Is that the
Um,
single rail
it's a
ride?
single rail one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
shit
those
goes
new.
fucking fast. I was not ready
Yeah,
for
those,
that.
that's called the RMC Raptor model. Um, Rocky Mountain Construction have been reinventing the roller coaster game for the past 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Very fast, very cool, terrifying. But I was walking by, like they have a section where like the villains are all like behind this arch, right? They got like Harley
mm,
Quinn and stuff, and I saw Black Manta, and I was like, "Look, I'm still in the fucking bag for like Aquaman." I'm like, "Let's do Aquaman 3." And I took a selfie with the Black Manta drawing because I
oh,
was
that's
like,
cool.
"Yeah, I want that. I want Black Manta and more stuff."
Mm,
So that's how in the bag I am for some of this stuff still. Like ultimately, that's like I
yeah.
just am a
Well, yeah,
nerd.
like when Mole Man showed up and was wearing the Mole Man goggles, I'm like, I am fucking here for it. When Ben Grimm wears a big trench coat and a hat, I'm like, I'm there for it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, although they didn't give him any of the qualities that I associate with the Thing, right?
Yeah.
That's weird. Maybe I do think there was a part of them being like, we don't want to do what the other movies did because it's so tired by this point. But then they like overcorrected, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a complaint people have been giving to the Superman movie. And again, as someone who wasn't as huge a fan, that's not a complaint I would give the Superman movie. That it doesn't feel like an overcorrection to the Snyderverse, right? Um, at least in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that. Uh, but it's a part of this feels like they're overcorrecting a little bit for the other Fantastic Four movies, but then they do it so much they forget what actually makes the characters the characters. Like Johnny Storm isn't the hot shot he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Grimm isn't tortured, you know? Um, does he ever say bub?
I don't think so.
I always think he says, the one I always think of when they go up against the hate monger in a Fantastic Four issue, which is literally them just being like, they go up against a villain whose creed is like, down to all those who are different than us. Like, I think that's literally one of the hate monger and his followers' lines. I just remember Ben Grimm. Like, there's like a scene where he's like, I really hate that hate manga fella. And Reed Richards is like, calm down, Ben. There's no way this will get out of control. And then they come across a rally the hate monger's holding. He's like, what does that look like to you, bub? A PTA meeting? And then they're all like, down with other races. And then Ben Grimm's like, I ain't standing for this. And he just starts punching people. Like, that's
Beautiful,
what I like.
beautiful. That's what this
That's,
movie needed.
yeah, the
Um,
hate monger.
no, no Ben Grimm punching bigots though. That would have been cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that would have been
I don't
fun.
know. This is a weird one. The screenplay is credited to four separate people: Ian Springer, Jeff Kaplan, Eric Pearson, who's like one of the main Marvel guys, and most importantly for me, Josh Friedman, who I hyped up last year when I discovered after the movie ended that he wrote Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Um, awesome sci-fi writer. If anyone has a copy of his script Orphan's Dawn, let me know. I've still not been able to track it down. It's supposed to be this legendary project that never got off the ground. Um, so talented dude. I'm willing to bet some of the more interesting stuff was his contributions. Like I'm that confident
Yeah.
in him as a writer. And Matt Shackman, I texted you this, and I really feel it that he's a very talented filmmaker. I think he
Mhm.
needs to not be involved with these movies because I think they're
Yeah.
subduing him. He's there's so much like here that should be just like, yes, this is awesome. This is this great retro future aesthetic. This is the production design is great. The costumes I love. The look of everyone I'm a fan of. Although they should have given Sue a retrofitted, time appropriate hair. I think that would have sold
Mm.
it a little more. But whatever. Vanessa Kirby is great. Um, and I think they're really just like they're holding them back because this and like
Yeah.
WandaVision, especially from what I saw of it, um, the direction of and like the tone and the visual capturing of those period piece sitcoms are like pitch perfect. Like the
Mhm.
dude has it. And then it gets to the Marvel stuff and it's always fucking boring. And it's like they didn't let him do anything interesting with the camera after they nailed the production design in this one.
Yeah. I think that's just a like I just that might just be an unsolvable problem, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then it's also like you have a guy like this. It's like, well, what other arenas are you going to be able to play this big in, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the other issue facing the industry right now is that you can get guys with really good vision, and like again, there are moments in this that are like, wow, that's really cool actually, and it just doesn't totally matter because the movie's not that great. But like then if you be like, well, maybe this guy could at least take these skills somewhere else, it's like at best he's jumping over to Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then who God knows if the project will even happen because that's the Star Wars problem right now. Um, but it's like, yeah, like there aren't these arenas for people. I still think I will say I think the James Gunn experiment at DC, we don't know the full extent of it yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever, however I feel about Superman, whatever, but like he's still steering like a universe that's going to have other creatives in it. I want to see what happens there because that was a thread that even I think people that defend the Snyderverse don't think Snyder threaded that quick greatly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even with, I think the only reason it kind of worked over there is because he didn't really care. Like he was more interested in his own thing.
Yeah.
He just came in to be like, here's what I'm trying to set up, so aim for that. Because like it's like Wonder Woman and Aquaman are arguably like the two best of the DC original DC EU, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's it's so whatever. But like I'm waiting to see where Gunn does. But this still feels like yeah, you just got like cinder block shoes on you if you're working in the MCU, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Like
Especially with
it
this
made
movie, which is
me.
like it's such a period piece. It's such a post origin story. It's like it's responding to so many outside forces that it prevents it from really flowering, right?
Yeah. And it really made me appreciate Thunderbolts more, a movie I forgot I saw in theaters. And I was like, no, that
Yeah,
was.
I'll give Thunderbolts that it got the team dynamic right. Like
Mm-hmm.
it got that part of it.
Yeah, like I, this cast even has chemistry. I think it's just they're not together enough, like to be very simplistic about it. I like the stuff when they go to Galactus though. Galactus is the best part of this movie.
Yeah, I think we're in full agreement there on Galactus. Like I think that here's the weird thing though, it's like one of these things where like I was watching it and it's like the moments I'm in the pocket are when like Galactus is on screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um I want to stress when Galactus is on screen. I want to stress that element of it. Uh, I think that's the stuff that really works. But then I'm also sitting there being like, you know what did this better? Eternals.
I had some qualifiers before I saw it that I texted you. Do you remember what I
Yeah.
said? One of the ones was
One
I
of
was
them
like,
was, yeah, I think I said like, well, you're kind of right. I said something along that line, like when I
yeah, or
saw
I
your
was like,
text.
the fucking whatever the cosmic entities are called. I've the Celestials. I was like,
Yeah.
look, Eternals kind of fucking rocked my shit with the framing and
Mm.
the scope of them. Like they don't even fit into the image, and I'm like, I felt like I missed out watching that one in a theater, and I'll
Yeah.
never get the opportunity now. My
Well,
bad, Chloe Zhao. I should have never doubted you.
this is your makeup one, I guess.
I get, yeah. I mean, it's not. it's just she
It's not
fucking
bad.
nailed
It's
it.
not
She
bad.
fucking nailed it.
It
Yeah.
no, she did it way better, but this isn't as this is all right. It's fine. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, they really get Galactus right. It's just so weird where it's like we have to do this. Like I'll say this too. I'll give this movie credit. They're very smart with not really bothering to explain that it's an alternate universe, right? That
Mm-hmm.
like they're not there's a brief like this is Earth whatever, right, at the start of it. There's brief text that says that at the bottom of the screen. It's a blink and you miss it. I don't even remember what number it was. So like I barely clocked it. And there's a bit of a discussion being like, there's a theory that there could be multiverses out there. And that's it. They never go like, oh, like the MCU's over here. Like they
Yeah.
never do that,
No,
and
that
I'll
is
give the
what these
movie
things should have
credit
been
for
doing the
that.
whole time.
Mhm. So I'll give them a lot of credit for that.
Also, I
Honestly,
had to look it up. It is Earth 828.
great.
Yeah.
But because that's the one thing I thought was clunky about Celeste Eternals. I mean, is the opening text crawl that tries to explain too much, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That they spend way too much time trying to establish that. And I do think the montage at the beginning, being like, "Here's what the Fantastic Four are," is pretty fun. Like it gets it out of the way really quick. It sets things up. It sets this new universe. It establishes those things. Here's a question I have though, and this is it's very difficult to talk about right now because we're in this really weird moment in our culture where studios are coming out and proudly saying they're abandoning diversity in their films, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, one of the most successful films of the year has a basically all black cast in Sinners.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that it really feels like if you're whatever your definition of woke is, the most successful stuff this year appears to be the woke stuff, right? Is that me? Am I wrong?
No,
Like
no,
you like is
you're
that
absolutely correct. It turns out people like seeing themselves represented on screen, and if
yeah?
you're not doing that, they're not that interested.
I mean, it looks like F1 is nearing $600 million,
And that one's a little
but
disappointing, but at least there's Damson Idris in that.
yeah, but what was that? Are
At
you
least
are you
Dam.
disappointed it didn't do well, or are you
No,
disappointed that it
I'm a
did
little
better?
disappointed it's doing well because I fucked with the IMAX sequences heavy, and like I've not thought about anything else besides the racing
Yeah,
in that movie, other than Brad Pitt washed? Question mark. Moving on.
yeah. But like Top Gun Maverick was a like, are we returning to traditional American values moment, right? When that movie made 1.5 billion, right? Like there was a like, are we going back to the Cold War era, rah rah America? And like no one's been able to recapture that at all,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Mission Impossible didn't do great, right?
It
Uh,
bombed, and they're like, "Doesn't
yeah,
matter. It's the last one." I'm like, "Well, it's probably good for culture that
Ugh.
Tom Cruise
yeah.
isn't gonna
It's
do
good that
it."
we don't have to support Paramount anymore going forward, is what I will say. Um, to that specifically, at least for the next few years, we don't have to support Paramount Skydance, right? We can
Mm-hmm.
let them be for a little bit. See if the South Park guys actually manage to get themselves fired, which could be interesting.
Yeah.
Could be an interesting thing to see happen. But yeah, you have like all these people like proudly abandoning their. Um, I'll, here's the thing though, F1 might have cost $300 million,
Mm-hmm.
so 600 million, like that's like breaking even, but still not like a major hit, right?
Yeah. It would break
How's
even for Apple because here's the thing about F1.
well,
Since
I
we're
guess
on that,
Apple. Yeah.
Apple's gonna pull out of theatrical releases if this didn't hit. Like that's not
Okay.
100% confirmed, but they haven't. None of their theatrical releases have worked in that way. Even our beloved Killers of the Flower Moon, one of the most devastating movie experiences
Well,
of the century. Um,
they're fucking. You would have to be an idiot to think that was going to be a crossover hit. No offense. I'm glad
yeah,
that movie exists, but that's also like no. Like that was kind of shocking. That got an IMAX release. The fucking Killers of the Flower Moon. I saw
did
that in
it? Oh my
IMAX.
god,
Yeah, yeah.
guys!
And it's
I'm
like
glad it did,
that's
but
insane.
guys,
Same. I'm glad it did. I'm glad Scorsese's making movies, but like,
yeah.
what do you think? Because like that's the thing for me. I'm like, Amazon did a similar thing where like they didn't hit in theaters, so they pulled out a theatrical release, and it's like, but you guys didn't even really try to make any movies that would be theatrical hits. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so to me, it's like if Apple was betting it all on F1, like at least F1 feels like the first attempt of theirs to actually make a theatrical hit, right?
Yeah, yeah, and
So
to commend it, it's like yeah, seeing it in IMAX, I was like, fuck, this is like when it works. That movie's, I think, pretty fucking exhilarating. You
Yeah.
know, and
What
then
just got
the other
announced?
stuff.
Something just got announced that's going to be a Apple release. Um, that people are like, oh, does this mean it's not going to get a theatrical release? Like people are a little worried
Oh,
about
I'm not
that.
sure. I haven't been super plugged in.
Yeah, I can't remember something. It
Yeah,
was
let
like
me
they
look it
literally
up while you
just
talk about something else.
yeah. Anyway, what the fuck was I saying? Sorry, I'm looking. I also immediately went to their Wikipedia, but couldn't find the answer. Um, yeah, I'm just saying, like, it feels like we're in this weird era where people are like, yeah, abandon diversity initiatives, but then stuff that is actually diverse in the very Hollywood graded on a curve sense of diverse, right?
hmm
Uh, is still hitting. No one seems against this stuff.
hmm
It seems it's almost like it was a manufactured issue in order to get your food stamps taken away, and it worked, idiots. But it's yeah, that stuff's still hitting. Um, and then you have something like Fantastic Four, which is set in the '60s, right?
hmm
Um, and this is where again I don't know how to really approach it because it's like how do I say this? Lilo and Stitch is the highest grossing American film of this year. All of you go to hell. All of you go to hell now. Right now, where you are standing, just jump right in. Jump in to hell immediately. Stop what you're doing. Go to hell now. All of you people. Humanity as a collective, go to hell. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yes. So it's the 60s, and we just pretend the civil rights movement doesn't exist. Um, and I'm not again. This is not me saying that the Fantastic Four movie should have been the civil rights movement, right? About the civil rights movement, right? Like I'm
hmm
not. I just it's weird to me that like we're getting a lot of this lately, where we retell our history and make it more diverse than it was. And I feel like people that make that argument are being like, everything, like it used to be all white straight people, right? Now, like they're forcing diversity into it. That's not what I'm saying. I just feel like we're ignoring, in order to get diversity in films, we're ignoring the complicated history we have with diversity. That's my problem, I guess. Right?
hmm
Like, is I just question the ethics of that a little bit. Like, are we whitewashing history a little bit? To not acknowledge that there was a civil rights movement,
hmm
um, to not acknowledge that the reason why white people were the star of most movies and media at the time was because black people were treated as second class citizens, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it.
No, I think that's an idea worth discussing. I know there's been some criticism about the film being like, oh man, everyone just like loves the Fantastic Four. I think someone called him like an Ubermensch, like
Mm.
visual at one point. I think that was my buddy Brandon Streisnig, which I don't completely agree with, but I think given the
I wouldn't
context
go
everything we
that
talked
far.
about,
I wouldn't go that far, frankly.
um,
But
but I also think, like, look, we didn't even talk about the 2015 Fantastic Four movie, Fant Four Stick, which, like, one of the biggest train wrecks of all time. Some interesting ideas. The
yeah,
first half hour, falls off a cliff, tumbles into like radioactive volcano, and then blows up in everyone's faces and killed Fantastic Four as we know it in comics for like several years. Um,
yeah.
that movie also had a Black Johnny Storm, and that movie doesn't work. It's not because of that,
And
obviously.
that shows you, unfortunately, it shows you how much the discourse has devolved in recent years because there definitely were people upset about that at the time, but
hmm
there was much bigger pushback to it than from what I remember. Right, that
Yeah,
more people were like that's stupid to be upset about, like whatever. Like you can have a, and when that movie bombed, no one blamed that there was a black Human Torch. Right, like
yeah,
no one made that argument, and now that would 100% be the argument people made. Right.
yeah.
I
The
mean, they're
the
trying to
YouTube
do that
video
with
clips would
this.
be crazy.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do right now with the Fantastic Four first steps. They're trying to be like it bombed because of diversity and woke, right?
It's like
And it's like it's not
everybody's
even
white, and oh no, except for Pedro
yeah,
Pascal.
yeah. And it's also like it's not even bombing really. Like it's obviously like again, it's they're not doing end game numbers. Like we'll probably never see that again for a while. But uh it's not bombing, it's not doing atrocious, and but yeah, it's like that's just now what the discourse is. And goddamn, part of me is feeling a little bit of relief that we know that like 75% of traffic on Twitter is bullshit, right?
Hmm.
Uh, isn't that makes is that just am I being a naive idiot? But like, or does that make you feel a little bit better?
No,
Um,
it does make me feel better, and I think a lot of like people with conservative values. Not everyone. I understand some people are just fucked beyond belief. I get that, but I do think a lot of people is just like they're working 9 to 5s. They're coming home and they're not hearing anything besides like, oh, and this is why your healthcare is being taken away because of a Black Johnny Storm or something like that, right? Like an
yeah,
exaggeration,
I know.
obviously, but it's just like if you actually like if these people actually were made more aware of actual issues if they had the time
Here
to
we had
do
a
that, you know?
fucking Here we had a fucking Democratic Party with some actual leadership on these issues instead of
Yeah,
being like, let's find the middle ground on every fucking thing. As they keep, we just let the right keep shifting the goalposts. So the middle ground now is what was conservatism 20 years ago.
yeah. If there was a basic
Like,
political movement in the Democratic Party to actually like educate people, it would make a huge difference, you know?
yeah, yeah, to actually be leaders instead of just followers of trends. Like, I get that none of them are incentivized to do that, but hey, that would help things.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, look, we'll see what happens with New York, but like the whole Zoran thing does kind of hint towards, oh, there could be some change coming,
Yeah,
right?
didn't a socialist just win, in Minnesota or something like that too, like a socialist
Yeah,
Democrat?
yeah, there was something like that. I think Seattle just did pretty good with their leftist candidates as well. Like that was what happened, in the last few
Grassroots,
days.
baby.
What was that?
Grassroots, baby.
Yeah, grassroots also, yeah, like it's people want this stuff is the thing. People are willing to
Hmm.
fight for it. It's one of these where I always when especially in like despairing moments, I like to point out being like, look how much money they have to spend to fight us to a stalemate, right?
Hmm.
Like even Donald Trump won the last election. It wasn't by that much, and look how much money they spent versus what we spent, right?
Hmm.
Like that's what it takes. It's unfortunate that the deck is stacked against us, but that does not make it impossible to win, right?
Yeah.
And one of these days we'll be writing the rule book. So, um,
But yes, the point
I
being, yeah, I think a lot of that traffic is just bullshit. You know,
yeah.
like it's
So
literally bots. It's the fucking monkeys at the keyboard.
100%. It's just like the unfortunate thing is they do successfully get conservatives to fall in line behind these movements, right?
Hmm.
Like they do help, but it is a still very astroturfed thing. And who knows how that'll change? It has to at some point. I keep thinking there was like none of this is like we can't do this forever. It's not sustainable. Like, right? I
Yeah,
just
no, it's not.
it's
Like
everything's weird.
it'll end. Like sorry,
Yep.
conservatives. No, I'm not sorry actually, but yeah,
I
like
mean,
you'll lose.
you'll lose, but don't worry. We will actually get your health care back.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Like
the thing.
after here's what you need to know. After all the shit you're doing to us right now, I'm still gonna fight to get you health care because you deserve health care. God damn it.
It shouldn't be a yeah, it shouldn't be a concern for anyone to go to the doctor.
Yeah, it
Go to
really
the
shouldn't.
doctor.
Just go get your medicine, fucker.
Yeah,
Uh,
live,
but
idiot.
yeah, exactly. That is kind of my philosophy in life. Live, idiot.
I might have to
Uh,
make that.
but
Put that in my bio
yeah, let's go for it.
on one of these
Um,
goddamn
but
apps.
but yeah, it's just to talk about this fucking movie. It is something where I'm like, yeah, Galactus kind of ruled. Um, and that's all I really have from the thing. Like most of it just fell very flat for me. And I guess if you're like a diehard Fantastic Four fan, it's cool to finally see all that stuff, especially when like you have like Herbie the robot. And it's like, oh, they would never have done Herbie like 5 years ago, right?
Hmm.
Like that's just something that would never happen. Um, and now it's like, oh, it's here. Like we did it, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. I'm just beyond like, okay, that's cool. It's a better version of Rise of the Silver Surfer. Cool. Like that's not enough for me. you finally got the standalone movie thing down.
Mm.
Make it better luck next time. I
Yeah.
guess I'll not like. I'm sorry, we can't do more of these in theaters. I can't. I'm like holding a grudge against this perfectly boring, fine, decent film because I
Yeah.
was like unhappy seeing it in a theater basically too. I want to make that clear. I definitely am, and I
Okay.
recognize that. Well, yeah, like stuff like Herbie's cool. I like The Silver Surfer more than I thought I would. I like Julia Garner as an actress. Check out Weapons, which is opening the day after recording. The day this
Oh
episode
yeah.
drops, Weapons comes out.
Make sure you find your 5 friends to bully into seeing Weapons because it feels like it didn't get that much of a push marketing wise. And
Yeah, which is
yeah,
strange. At first, it felt like they were going hard, and then they kind of stopped.
yeah. And I'm part of me wonders if they fucked up and maybe should have put a trailer for Weapons in front of Sinners. Um,
Mmm.
would
Yeah,
have
what
been
the fuck,
would have been
WB?
yeah. Well, remember they thought Sinners wasn't going to do anything.
Yeah, now it's the most profitable original film of the decade or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
also, it's like I bet you Weapons has a slightly too heady concept, and David Zaslav's head almost explode.
yeah. I've read
The
that
guy doesn't. The
script, and
guy, the the guy doesn't know how to sell a Roadrunner movie.
yeah.
Like, how is he supposed to sell anything with more substance behind it?
Yeah. I've read the script, and I know some people think that takes the magic away from watching a movie. I love seeing the magic come to life on the big screen. Like, oh, how'd they do that? Oh, they did it that way. Um, yeah, the Magnolia as a horror movie comparisons are not like off base. We'll see with quality. I have very high hopes for it, but like that is the
I've
level
heard
they're
good.
operating at. And
Early Buzz
yeah,
is really good. Early Buzz is really good on
hmm
Weapons, like
yeah,
from what I've heard. So,
yeah. Julia Garner, yeah, good actress. One of my other texts I sent to you after the Celestials thing was like, I think Silver Surfer's just there to be Johnny's love interest.
I want to give you credit. I think you sent that even earlier. You clocked that pretty quickly.
Oh yeah,
Like, yeah, like you clocked
I
that
think
because
you're
we were
right.
having that thing. Well, because I kept going like, and like it's one of these conversations where it's difficult to have again with the whole like backlash to diversity thing. I want to say really quick. I want to give Kevin Feige the bare minimum of credit for being the modern Stan Lee, but of just being like he gave a statement recently where he's like, "We're not pulling back on diversity in Marvel."
Yeah, good for
Like,
him.
and
Truly.
and he's like, "That's the real world. That's what we live in." And to be saying that, especially when Marvel's kind of taking some punches to the face right now, right?
Hmm
That I think he has a better sense of where the culture really is at than the people maybe above him do, right? Now,
hmm
what he's agreeing to behind the scenes, who knows? But at least on the surface, he's being like, we're a diversity first company, so that's at least good. Um, Also, get to be a lot. Aren't a lot of these like DEI initiatives that are being attacked? Weren't they only started under Biden? Like,
Like basically.
yeah, so like as upset as I am, I think it's become this big rallying point for conservatives, and I think it's a worry for liberals. But we're not enough was really ever established, right?
Hmm
For them to take it away. Now again, they're using this issue of Trojan horse, like pulling funding for like public broadcasting and shit like that, which is bad. Like that's really what they're doing. But it's also like I think the people, the studios coming out and flexing, being like, "Yeah, we're not doing diversity anymore." It just feels like they're trying to butter up for like a tax break
No,
than
they're
something they
totally
actually.
that. I mean, look at like what's happening with Paramount and like the not
Yeah,
bribe that everyone is like, that's
yeah.
totally a
Well,
bribe
that's
with the Trump
the
administration.
Paramount one is a much more naked version of that, and I could see Paramount actually being like a pro-Trump organization going forward,
Hmm
as opposed to some of the other ones, right? Where it feels like
Yeah,
they're just
yeah.
kind of taking it, but
But
it
no,
feels like it might backfire on them considering the response to it, right?
no, it totally is. I mean, to go back to like the bots and the monkeys and the computers and shit like that, like ultimately people don't like where this is all headed. And unfortunately the people at the top are just like kissing the ring. They're kissing the ring this
Yeah.
time to fucking Trump. But no like real people are that happy about how anything is going, even his base. So like what does that tell you? Like they're going to lose. Like that's the only
And
outcome.
in the grand scheme of things, they will lose.
Yeah.
Like even we could never have an election again, and they'll still lose. Like that's just where we're at as a culture.
I just
Um,
want to say really quick, that's crazy that we did get there because I brought up the Julia Garner Shala Ball Silver Surfer.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. Well, because I have to. I feel like I'm being like I don't support this. Because like I feel like because my comment really is like, why are we doing Girl Silver Surfer? And it really is a just like I don't get it, not a like they're doing Girl Silver Surfer because woke. Like I'm worried that's what it comes across because that's become such a the. But I am sitting here being like, why are they doing it? And I was very confused. I'm just like, I don't get why they're doing it. And part of me was like, is it just to have more women in the film? And fucking Diego rightly clocked. It was to give Johnny Storm something to do. It's this movie has such the strongest case of who's got a case of the not gays of any film in recent memory. Um, because for those who don't know, Johnny Storm is very popular. Is a very popular gay ship in the online. I'll just say Yowie loving community. I can't even really say gay community likes it. I just think the people that like boy kissing like to ship Johnny Storm with people, right? And
Hmm.
it feels like they're going out of their way to be like they want to make Johnny Storm not gay, but also they don't want to make him the like I love the hot ladies that they like. As people are like, we can't do that in culture anymore, which I don't think is necessarily true, but it just that just feels like where we're at. So it feels like Silver Surfer was there. So when Johnny Storm was like, man, I'm really fascinated with that surfer guy. No one in the audience is being like gay. Like, I feel like they're that insecure about it. That being said,
Hmm.
I do think the portrayal of Johnny Storm is basically homophobic. I do think it was an insult to the gay community of the world.
I don't think I have the qualifications to comment that, but I'll
Some
support
good
you.
fan art out there. Some good fan art out there.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Um,
Spider-Man mask stays on.
I mean, and look, for the Kevin Feige thing, the worst stories I've heard about him are just the ones that are public information about him being pretty beaten down and running down the hallways to avoid having to comment on a bunch of other bullshit that he's swamped with. I don't know if you saw those
Hmm.
reports, but
I've seen those. Yeah.
yeah. It's like I've really not heard anything terrible. Maybe stuff comes out later, but in terms of like the people in charge of shit, he seems like at least a decent guy, and I got no negative feelings about him as a person.
It feels like it's been weird. There's been like two stories where there was the one, but there was the one story of Feige stepping down and Feige being like, "I ain't leaving. What the fuck are you talking about?" Right? Like there was that, and that comes right after Kathleen Kennedy had the same thing happen to her.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yeah,
Like it feels like Disney's trying to force him out, but neither of them are budging. Right? Like that's
yeah.
interesting, isn't it?
That's yeah, and I can't figure out why that would be. And I'm not being facetious. Like I genuinely don't know why. um.
I do think here's something I will say. I do think if I honestly like this will probably be a little depressing, but I do think a lot of anti woke guys are sit on the boards of these studios, right? That a lot of these guys like true believers in the cause, right?
Mhm.
Um, because right now, the big thing, a lot of the rich people right now are the sons of rich people. It's all the what's that show? Secession kids running
Succession, yeah.
things, right? And they're idiots, and they have no inner lives, and they've never actually had to work in their for anything, and they sit there and they actually believe woke is destroying the country. Because their stock prices are going down, and I do think a lot of those guys being like, we got to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy because woke. And like that is not what's wrong with anything Kathleen Kennedy is doing, right? Like we can have criticism of Kennedy, we can say whatever, but that's not what's going on there, right? That's not why the movie qualities have been bad. But I do think a lot of the guys in charge of that aren't even in charge, they're just on the board. And if you're running these things, you have to answer to idiots like that all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Like so I just think that I really think the woke mind virus has infected the boards of directors of companies in this country just going the opposite direction, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like is happening, and then they're all baffled that it's not working, right?
Yeah. No,
Like,
everyone is fucking either Kendall or Roman Roy at this point, you
yeah,
know?
Mhm.
This little Weasley, like,
I sh-
just fucking get the DEI out of there, you know? Fucking.
I think Shiv is in there too. I want to
Oh,
say that.
probably, yeah.
Uh,
No, I mean, Succession was
uh,
fucking finger on the pulse, man. Like, when that was
mhm.
on.
Yeah. Well, they literally based that on like the actual kids of some of like the Sumner Redstone family and shit.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it started as a spec script for a movie adaptation of who's the fucking Fox guy? I forgot his name now. God
yeah,
damn it.
yeah, that was the Murdoch is the other
Yes. Thank you.
one, like the
Yeah.
whole Murdoch family, which did have like a whole big actual kerfuffle happen. Here's one that's going on in real time though. Um, so David Ellison, the Ring of the Paramount, is the guy doing the whole Paramount thing, right?
Hmm.
Um, and he's the son of Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, right? The billionaire founder of Oracle. His sister is Megan Ellison, David Ellison. His sister, who is the founder of Annapurna Pictures or whatever you call it.
Annapurna.
How do you pronounce it? Annapurna. I totally, I never said it out loud before. I was reading it, and I was just like, and it's like that was clearly something like, yes, it was Daddy's money, but she was like, I want to do that, and she produced like a lot of interesting movies. Frankly, I don't want to. I'm not trying to be like Megan Ellison, good person, right? Like I'm just
Yeah.
saying like it, but it did seem like she did it. She had a passion to do it, in my opinion, right? I think that she got into the film industry. She's also openly gay, um, and then suddenly her brother is just given Paramount. Like, what the fuck is that about? Like,
Yeah.
there's definitely a family drama happening there.
No,
Like,
I mean, since you brought it up again, like I remember the talk being like, well, at least he likes movies, which is allegedly true.
I
Hasn't been operating that way though.
don't know what I don't even know what they've been up to. I knew they were like hitting rough waters, so because none of their shit was hitting, right?
Hmm.
Um, and again, it's not her money, it's Daddy's money. So who knows what Daddy's saying right now?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, like the only movie they're releasing this year is that they produced is Night Bitch. But hey,
Oh
look, Night Bitch,
shit.
bad movie, original concept.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
based on a book.
yeah, but like that in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
it's an original concept.
I'll
You
take
know,
it. Yeah.
I gotta give all right. I gotta give them a little bit of credit. They're releasing less stuff right now,
Hmm.
which is unfortunate. But what it's they're still doing some interesting stuff in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like the
uh,
concept of Night Bitch, directed by Marielle Heller, a great filmmaker. You know, kind of should have been a slam dunk. Sometimes stuff just doesn't work, and I appreciate a swing like that.
the next one of the next movies they're having coming out is Boots Riley's follow up to fucking I think you should leave. I mean, not I think you should leave. Fuck. Sorry to bother you. Uh, which I know we all have strong opinions about Boots Riley these days, but that's kind of a daring thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, uh, so like like again, I don't want to be like good billionaire kid versus bad billionaire kid. I just think that's a really weird thing to be watching play out in public,
Hmm.
right? Of just wow, like that does feel like a Succession plot, right?
Yo.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so, fuck David Ellison. Uh, my words just got picked up by whatever AI thing they just integrated, and I'll be shot in the street within 3 years. Um, but
Well,
hey,
not if these studios keep saying we don't endorse the AI models learning our fucking copyrighted shit, which might
yeah,
put the kaputs on AI like faster than
I
we'd
think
hoped.
that could definitely shift things. I don't think it's enough though, because I feel like part of it is that there's a large enough body of work that already exists that it can't stop it. But I do think that's a good sign of where the attitude is, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but
Universal
also
just
one of these
announced they're
days,
doing it today.
that's great. But also, that is one of those things where like that's like it's just a bubble. AI is not going to be what they want it to be,
Yeah.
right?
No. No. Absolutely
Um,
not. Yeah.
honestly, here's what's really happening, and this is why everything's so bad, and it is bad. I don't want to downplay. It's right now the billionaires are just looting this country. Like that's what's happening. And everything right now, they're endorsing a lot of stuff they don't believe in, don't support, and don't think will work because they just want to get as much money out of this country as possible before the shit goes tits up, right?
Hmm.
That's what's happening. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And Trump is just going right along with it because he's a psycho. So how that plays out in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that stops us from being in the era of late capitalism, though. So uh, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Um. I got a couple last notes on the movie, on some Fantastic Four stuff. Did you catch the cameos from the Roger Corman Fantastic Four
I knew
characters?
they were in it, and I totally missed them. So where were they?
Yeah. I didn't catch all of them. But the one I think the Human Torch gives a little salute, and then it's like the previous Human Torch, Jay Underwood, gives like a salute or like a wave back or something like that. And
It's
there's I guess
cool.
they're in the stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that was sweet. That's very nice, you know.
Yeah. Also, like
Um,
the guys who were in that movie are people who like have like 50 movie credits that are like a bunch of like direct to video shit, right?
mhm.
And then occasionally something like really totemic, right?
Yeah,
Uh, did you know the guy who played Mr. Fantastic is in Nope?
I just saw that. So
Yeah.
he's a legend in
So,
my book.
mm. And a lot of them have credits like that where they like they only did a handful of things and then occasionally pop up in something really big.
Hmm.
And not like a huge not like huge roles, but they're still there. So it's it is interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
Joseph Culp,
and
Doctor Doom, the greatest Doctor Doom
yeah,
yet. That's not even a
that's
joke.
yeah.
That is the best version of Doctor Doom on film.
Yeah, but they also it feels like they've never even tried with Doctor
Yeah.
Doom.
Oh,
So
you don't want to see what if Iron Man was Doctor Doom?
what are we doing?
Iron Man's Doctor Doom or Robert Downey
All
Jr.
right,
They've been insistent that
all
it's
right,
not Tony Stark, which is
yeah,
whatever. Fuck yourself.
all right. Here's what I think might happen. Uh, is are they pulling a Crimes of Grindelwald?
Oh, where they're gonna like do a fake out and like the real Doctor Doom will show up.
Yeah, like it's gonna be like Doctor Doom's gonna show up right in the new universe,
Hmm.
and it's gonna be like, actually, I'm Tony Stark. You have to listen to me. It's me, Tony Stark. What I'm doing might seem radical, but it's actually for the greater good, or something like that. And then at the end,
Hmm.
it's mass call, and it's like, I'm Doctor Doom, actually.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what they said is gonna happen.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
There's that's. I
Yep.
mean, hey, that's the plot. Um,
Yep. And
so
it'll be like, oh, the heroes of Earth 199999, the MCU as we know it, are gonna be like more trusting of him, and the other characters will be like, no, don't, because he took our baby, which is what happens in the post credit scene.
it's
I don't know if
allegedly that is Downey Jr. in that shot.
yeah, well, it's just both this and Thunderbolts. There are alleged scenes that are like those are scenes from Endgame or whatever the fuck. Then you want Doomsday? Who fucking cares?
Okay.
Yeah, they're scenes that the Russos shot. You know, I
What
did
but like
not
I
have the
think
same reaction to
did
this one as I did with Thunderbolts.
I don't but here's the thing, I don't think Russo's actually shot this one because I remember Matt Shackman saying he did it.
Oh, okay.
So
That you know what? Okay, so here's a thing I heard. This is not verified. I've heard it from one person. It was the first time I heard it. So this is like the rumor of rumors. Uh, that they were like, it's not just the Russos shooting Doomsday. It's like everyone who's like in charge of like a team is like shooting sections with those teams. So if that's true, and what you said is true about Matt Shackman doing the post credit scene, that could be kind of interesting. I kind of felt like they should have done that with like Infinity War and Endgame. You know, like have
yeah.
like Gunn shoot the Guardian stuff, of Ryan Coogler shoot the Black Panther stuff, like yada yada yada. Um,
I think I feel like unions would want to have a word over that one.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I would just in a perfect world, that's an interesting hypothetical to me.
Yeah. I do
Um,
think there are genuinely things in place from the Directors Guild that prevent something like that from happening officially.
mhm.
I do think that that's actually like maybe these guys could all be like credited as second unit people, but I don't think you can actually. As cool as I do like that idea, I think, but I do think there are DGA rules that prevent that from happening.
Yeah, yeah, you're probably right. But if anyone can skirt by those rules, it's the Walt Disney
No, I mean that's
Corporation.
that. I'm not saying. I'm not
Yeah,
even saying it didn't happen. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
saying
yeah.
that we might not hear about that happening if it did.
No, no, for
Um,
sure, for sure. Um, yeah, I don't
so
know.
let's
What
real quick though. What do you think of the other Fantastic Four movies? Which is the best one now?
it's probably this one, but I do have a soft spot for the Corman one, just for like, wow, this is like, we're never gonna see something like that again, you know?
If you're a Power Rangers fan, especially early Power Rangers, you will like the original Fantastic Four movie better.
Yeah, which you can watch on YouTube for free now, by the way.
Yep, it's all up for free because apparently no one owns it. It's the Star Wars holiday special of the MCU.
Which
Um,
one's your favorite?
I mean, I think it actually might be the unreleased one.
Yeah.
Um, and not that I love it, but I like my comment about being like, if you're a fan of early Power Rangers, and I'm like, I'm a fan of early Power Rangers, so it's like, yeah, it slots into that. The movie isn't that long. It's a cool 90 minutes. It feels like something I would catch on Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
It's it doesn't. It's there to offend no one except for rights holders. And Avi Arad like allegedly tried to destroy every copy of the film.
I would believe that without
Like
researching anything. That just sounds
I
like
think
him.
it was one of the first things that happened when he took over was they're like, oh, by the way, there's some group doing a Fantastic Four movie. And he's like, what? And then like he looked into it and was like, holy shit, like we
He gets
have to
the
do something
cartoon
about
steam
this.
coming out of his ears when he hears the news.
I no, I don't even think it was. I think he was like, "Oh God, this could be really bad if this gets out." Like he's like, "Marvel's doing so terribly. If this gets released, this could kill the entire Marvel brand." I think that was his genuine reaction to it,
Oh,
and
now I feel kind
that's
of
why
bad.
he was like, that's why he was like, we have to get rid of this. Like he was like, we have to do something about it. So that happened, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the first movie, you know what? The first movie has a fun idea with the whole like Brooklyn Bridge action scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it that. I like the fire truck wreck on the Brooklyn Bridge. It's fun. How Ben Grimm's wife made it all the way to the Brooklyn Bridge to drop her ring is something, but New
Yeah.
York's a pretty big city. Uh,
A movie
so
logic. It's fine. The man can stretch.
yeah.
Oh, here's a
No,
fucking
no,
thing.
he can't. He's rocks.
No, I, I mean, I'm saying, Mr. Fantastic can stretch. So, like, let's, logistics. Let's put them aside. Real life logistics. Let's put them aside. But here's a fucking thing. Pedro doesn't really stretch as much in this,
I
and
know there's very little actual superhero stuff in the movie, which has just become a problem with the MCU in general, right? Like
mhm.
they're just kind of assholes standing in a room for most of it.
Yeah, and it's
Like
like I mentioned
some,
it earlier, but I'm like, give me some fucking hero shots. There is one good image, like truly quality image, where I could see it making an impact on audiences. When Johnny's chasing the Shala Ball for the first time, the Silver Surfer, and like they do the reverse, like uh uh Adam touching God or whatever the fuck, right? He starts
yeah.
falling back. Like, okay, that's a pretty like that's an interesting image. We did just do that in 2007. Um, but that's okay. You guys did it well as well. So there's something. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
the
like
lack of like cool superhero shit apart from the sprinkles is was kind of a bummer. Even though I liked the problem solving aspects they had as a team, it just made
mm,
me like it made me want more exaggerated versions of that. And by the time you get to the third act, I'm like, yeah, this is par for the course.
I do think here's the thing. I know some people are getting down on the whole like let's skip the origins thing, and I actually do like this trend. I actually think this is a good idea, in my opinion. Because when I think about that Fantastic Four movie from 2005, a big thing holding it back is that they have to tell the origin for the Fantastic Four. When you get stuck in that moment, you're like, you have to tell their origin. You have to explain their individual powers. You have to then explain their costumes. You have to explain why they became heroes, right? And
Hmm.
then you also have to do Doctor Doom on top of everything. Now you don't have to do Doctor Doom, but you have to do a villain.
Yeah,
And it's like
they were
there's
right
just
not to
a
do
lot of
Doctor Doom
these
out the gate.
yeah, and but there's just something where it's just like, yeah, there just isn't enough room for all of that, right?
Hmm.
Like, and when we sit here and go like The Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie, they also basically skip the origin story, right?
Hmm.
Like, they already have powers. They're not a hero team. It's just about how they finally become a team, right? But we don't have to go through every little thing of it. And I think some characters are better built for skipping the origin. And I think the Fantastic Four are a little are one of the better examples to do with it because that was a series that was very much made up on the fly, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes you don't need an explanation about why they have a suit with the number 4 on it, right? Like I think like a better version of this is like Captain America, the first Avenger, right? Where it's like, why does he have a costume? And it's like, oh, because he was doing war propaganda, right?
Hmm.
Like that's a cute way to get his costume in there, you know? Thor, you don't have to explain his costume because that's just who he is. Iron Man, the power is the suit. So like, but there's some guys where like, think about how many times they have to stop to be like, and here's how they got the suit, and it's like it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? It's not. It doesn't matter for every character,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I completely agree here. I think there's good discussion to be had about like with Superman. I'm like
Yeah,
I do think maybe you need that one. I think I've talked about Batman and
I
Spider Man as
no,
well, where I'm like I
I
think you
don't
kind of need
no.
some stuff.
I disagree. That's something I just fundamentally disagree with you on. I
Hmm.
think especially those three, they're so established at this point that we don't need origins. Because frankly, the best Batman movies aren't his origin, right? Like,
Well, Batman
and
Begins is still my favorite, so I'm definitely
no,
biased there.
here's the thing. Right now, it is like the two are like it's Batman Begins, but the Batman's pretty fucking close in my book, honestly.
You know what
Like,
fucked me with Fantastic Four First Steps as well? I was
mm,
cat sitting and I was like, let me put something on in the background. I put on the Batman hours
yeah,
before I went to the theater.
yeah, that
Um,
movie rules.
yeah, it's so good.
Uh,
I'm sorry, everyone. It's so good.
mm,
But okay, like I do think you need the Batman doesn't sidestep it. It addresses the origin in like a direct way without showing it again. I guess that's my thing. It's like I don't need to maybe need to see it if it's the first instance of new characters that if their powers are related to their origins that are like that they're super heroic inciting incidents, if they're that intrinsically tied to who they are like as characters, I do think you need something there. The Fantastic
I don't.
Four are scientists adventurers before they get superpowers. That's my
Yeah.
thing. So it's fine.
My thing is just like to me the biggest whiff of the ones you listed is Spider-Man, and that's probably because he was introduced in Civil War, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And to me, I think you could correct that by just having a moment where Spider-Man goes to Uncle Ben's grave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you could have totally corrected because I don't need to see Uncle Ben get shot again, right? I
Hmm.
don't need any of that. I just need to know that Uncle Ben was a person that existed, right? Like you could
Yeah.
totally do that and truncate it and then don't have to do all the setup and payoff of Uncle Ben's death. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not it's not just the because you can't just go 5 minutes in Uncle Ben gets shot, right? Like that's what you can't do. You
Yeah.
know, you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
establish who Uncle Ben is and then have him get shot. And even
Yeah.
when they do that, it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
So
Clearly. Apologies to Martin
like
Sheen.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like there are problems with that. So I'm really not against skipping origins for some of these people. Not all. I don't think it's a one-to-one thing, but there's a
Hmm.
lot of them where I'm like, we don't need an origin. Like one I could use another Wonder Woman origin again a little bit, right? Like, but we're so close to the Wonder Woman movie that that might be difficult to do.
Not to
So
get too into it, I do feel like we would accept a new Wonder Woman pretty readily. Um,
yeah, but it's we have to think about this again with the people who see 5 movies a year. Like that's always the people you have to consider when you talk about this attitude,
mhm.
right? Like who
Yeah.
who is this being sold to? And when it's Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, everyone knows who they are at this point. So you don't really need to devote an origin to them, right?
Hmm.
Like in my opinion. Um, especially when, and I think this applies to Fantastic Four and especially Superman, when their origins are kind of like convoluted and told in a weird order, right? Like a lot of the mythology of Superman, it took 30 years to really establish what that was.
Hmm.
So you don't always need to. You just have to be like, okay, this is stuff that's already working and already exists. Like I think you can do that with some of these characters. Um, who's someone you could do it with, like other than the Fantastic Four, um,
Ooh.
that you can kind of just jump in with? They haven't
Oh.
done, I guess. Um, they've done so many at this point; it's harder to tell, right?
Oh,
Like,
can I do one that they'll never do anyways? Can I say that?
sure,
Ragman.
no, you need to do a Ragman origin a
Oh,
little
that's the
bit,
one.
like
Okay.
that. Well, no, because like no one knows who Ragman is. That's the problem. Like, you just have
Oh
to have a
fuck! You
scene.
know
Like,
what? This is I just got it. continue your thing, but I got one. I got one.
I was just gonna say, Ragman is like you just need like a scene where it's like like in Blade where they're like, oh, his mother was bitten by a vampire. Like that's all you kind
Hmm.
of needed with Blade. Like you don't need more. Like you need a moment like that with Ragman, I
Yeah.
guess.
That
Uh,
was my pick, by the way. It's just like, yeah, you could just do that for Blade.
yeah,
Like,
Blade works. Um, I guess one thing is who doesn't need a truncated origin but needs like a full origin story? Because like I think you could do a truncated origin for the Flash because the Flash's origin isn't that interesting, right? Like
yeah,
unless you're
yeah.
doing Wally West, like Wally West, you would have to do an origin story for.
Hmm.
Um,
Which
so,
I love that the early seasons of that Flash TV show, they never really nailed Wally, and they never got like an exciting origin for him. So that does
yeah,
hang
but
over
that's
that
also
show.
because they were doing Barry Allen, right? Like it's Barry Allen
Yeah.
is the problem is that now, like because of how the Flash is, like no one knows that no one who doesn't know comics doesn't know that Wally West and Barry Allen were two different people, right? Like a lot of the adaptations of the Flash are Barry Allen named Wally West, right? Like
Hmm.
or the other way around, right? That like they use the Barry Allen name, but they base it a lot on Wally West stories, you know?
Hmm.
Because who the fuck knows who Christ on Infinite Earths is? So, yeah, it's a tough one to do. It's a tough one. Um,
uh, I mean, they can't do a Static Shock movie right now because they're not paying the estate. But I mean, I think you could do a Static Shock movie with a pretty clean origin that doesn't take up the entire movie because the inciting
yeah,
incident
Static.
is simpler.
Yes, the inciting incident is similar, but also like he's a fun character where it's fun to like learn what his powers are,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'm trying to think of like what heroes are like. Let's get to the fireworks factory type thing. Like right, like how do we
Hmm.
get to the actual good stuff? I always said about this. This is all right. This is a conversation Diego and I have been having off mic. I've been bullying Diego to watch the anime Yu Yu Hakusho, and part of me has been sitting down being like, how do you do like Yu Yu Hakusho as like a movie? And the problem is the first movie is there's no fireworks show in it, no matter how you try to do it. Like you can't do a first Yu Yu Hakusho movie without because the fireworks factory is the Dark Tournament, which is 26 episodes in, like, and you can't just skip to it without doing the story. So like I was thinking about that. But there are a lot of characters that the best stuff is stuff that doesn't happen until you're deeper into their lore. And again, that is the selling point of the shared universe is that it can help you kind of skip the boring stuff and get to the good stuff, right?
Hmm.
Like you don't have to tell everyone's origin because the universe is already established. Like you can just jump in with a lot of this stuff. And that promise just hasn't come to fruition in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Would you say the Hulk? We don't. Do we need another Hulk origin?
Um no, but that's also because like we're so deep on Hulk shit right now. Like
Mm,
they already sidestepped the Hulk origin, so um but that's honestly a character you could probably do a more interesting origin story with, right?
yeah.
Like but that won't happen for copyright reasons.
Yeah.
Uh, let's talk a little bit about the Josh Trank movie. Um
Yeah. How do we feel about him as a filmmaker? All this time removed.
well, the problem is his last movie was that Capone film, right?
Hmm.
Which I thought had interesting ideas, but like whiffs it pretty quickly, right? Like,
Yeah. I
and
liked it more than you did, but I don't think it came
hey,
together the way it should have.
I'm kind of in a like I like Capone area. Like that's kind of where I'm at mentally with the Capone movie, where I'm like I
Hmm.
like it, but I also don't think it works, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree
And
with
so
that.
I don't feel like Trank got got his chance, but like I don't know enough about him to be like, does he deserve it? Because remember, a lot of people were willing to blame him at the time that it was all his fault for Fantastic Four sake. There was like all these stories being like he was uncooperative. There was all this stuff about him being a prima donna, and who knows if that was true? If that was just a studio hit piece at this point, like I really
Hmm.
don't know. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it was so against him in 2015. People were like, yeah, he already alienated his good friend Max Landis.
Hmm.
I
Who came out
remember
to
that.
talk shit about him when the movie was like it was
Yeah,
revealed as like a train wreck, and everyone just kind of waited for it to hit the other side of the tracks.
Yeah,
And
and
then
it's like
people were
now
like,
we're
"Yeah,
all like,
Max, tell
yeah,
him."
people liked Max Landis then at least a little bit, right? Like I wasn't a hater of Max Landis at the time. Like I didn't know much about him, but I didn't hate
No,
him.
I was
Um,
a fan at that time.
yeah,
I start veering off the trail, but you know, I was a fan.
he replied to you once on Twitter.
He did. That's
Yeah, because
unfortunate.
you mentioned the comic you wrote, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Uh,
I got a picture with him back in
oh
2012 after
boy,
Chronicle came out.
you know I don't think I have a picture with anyone who's been canceled, so I have
Yeah, it's
that up
very
on you.
unfortunate.
Although I've had this debate where if he's dead now, so I can't do this. But if I ran into OJ at like an airport, would I get a picture with him? I don't know if I'm a moral enough person to not get a picture with him.
He would do the fake stabbing motion
Oh
again,
my
like he
god,
did for that interview.
if I could get him to fake stab me, I would love that. Well, now he's
It's
dead, so
yeah, it's probably good that he's dead. Let's be real.
but like,
Yeah,
there's a part of me that wants to be like, sir, you are a double murderer. I cannot, but I'm also like, yeah, but it'd be really funny if I posted that photo.
you got to get a video
Uh,
recording and be like, "All right, now smile and say, I did it."
I did it. If I get him to do that, that would be incredible too. Uh,
well,
remember when Beetlejuice said the juice was loose, and then like 3 days later, OJ died.
yeah, that makes that a good movie.
Yeah. So
I do like that
thank you,
movie, but
Tim
that made
Burton.
it. Yeah, thank you, Tim Burton, ally, comrade,
Yeah,
Tim
yeah.
Burton.
I mean, wasn't Tim Burton like 10 years ago being like everything's got too diverse in movies? Like he
No,
made a comment like that.
someone
Like,
asked him why he doesn't put more black people in his movies. He's like, I just don't see the world that way. And I was like, oh shit, dude. like,
yeah. But he did make a weird comment where he was like, "Yeah, you remember watching television once, and like there were all white people on the TV, and then suddenly all these black people showed up, and was like, that seems forced." And I was like,
there is a Soul
"What
Train
now?"
joke in Beetlejuice, which is pretty awful. So it's not like he's in the
Oh,
clear.
oh God, I cannot wait.
But to Fan Four Stick, the 2015 film,
Yeah,
Miles Teller,
and then
Michael B. Jordan, Kate Mara, Jamie Bell, Toby Kebbell. Toby Kebbell used to be fucking like huge. I don't know what happened.
yeah,
He's still working, but it's not like he's not in the spotlight as much anymore.
I think well he does he did this he did Fantastic Four, Warcraft, and Ben-Hur all within like 2 years.
Ooh.
Like yeah, like it's yeah. He picked a bad run.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what did it, frankly.
Yeah. Tim
Um,
Blake Nelson was supposed to be like a version of Mole Man initially, and then they just like, we're not doing that. Let's just cut that out.
yeah.
And the great Reggie Cathy was
Mhm.
the Storm Father,
Yeah.
which is the weirdest way anyone's ever described that
Who's
character.
unfortunately passed away in like 2018, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um,
Um, because
most known,
he
obviously, most known for playing Dirty D in Pootie Tang.
yeah, obviously.
Dirty D is still dirty because he's Dirty D. Damn it.
Yeah, it's not like he was in two of the most legendary HBO
No,
shows of all
no,
time, The
no.
Wire and
It's a
Oz.
hunt. It is 100% that he played Dirty D in Pootie Tang. That's what everyone knows him for.
Mhm. Yep.
Um,
Um, he was also Luke Cage's father in season 2 of Luke Cage, which I always stand by as being an incredibly underrated season of television, and he was fantastic. It was a post death release. It's great. Rest in peace. Doesn't really get a lot to do in this movie, as does no one, to be fair.
yeah, no, nothing works here. Like we can't even really bother. It is just a window into where the culture was at though in 2015. Like I made the comment like this honestly explains the success of the MCU better than anything because it's like this is what other studios were putting out at the time, and this is
Hmm.
basically an unfinished film, right?
Yep.
Like it's disastrous. It really there isn't even a like there's no like halfway mark with like this being okay, frankly. Like it's just bad, it's unfinished. Um but it is like, oh yeah, like Matthew Vaughn was involved. Matthew Vaughn doesn't really do anything involved in this stuff anymore these days, right?
Yeah.
Um like I don't even know what he's up to. Uh
Trying to get that Kingsman sequel off the ground.
Yeah, don't do that, Matthew Vaughn. Oh yeah, he did
Oh,
Argyle,
he was
which is a
he
movie
was
I
tapped to
forgot existed.
do the adaptation of The Authority, which I believe is the movie that just got killed at DC. So,
Yeah, good idea if that's one of the ones they canceled. Don't do the Authority right now.
mhm.
Um, but anyway, uh, yeah, and then it's like, yeah, Josh Trank. Remember, he was supposed to do the Boba Fett movie at around the same
Mhm.
time. And
Mhm.
then like whatever happened there. Remember that was also the famous like uh he didn't attend whatever May the 4th, whatever the festival is for
Star
Star
Wars
Wars.
Celebration.
Star Wars Celebration, I totally forgot the name. And like he was like, I had the flu, right? Like that was the big
Mhm.
thing. And then he was like fired like shortly after that. Um
Yeah.
and I do remember I think Kevin Smith interviewed him at one point, and Kevin Smith let slip in like something, which it kind of made me feel for the guy. I guess Kevin Smith reached out to him after the whole Fantastic Four debacle, and I guess Josh Trank uh, texted something back along the lines of, "Let's just pretend the movie did great, and I'm still doing Star Wars."
Oh.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it
so
sounds like
again,
that experience was rough for everyone.
yeah, like again, I don't know, like I can't because of the hit pieces that were out at the time, it's hard to tell, it's hard to separate fact from fiction, right? It does
Mhm.
feel like everyone blamed Josh Trank when it was definitely more than Josh Trank, but I'm not willing to be like, I don't know the guy. Maybe he was an asshole on set, maybe he wasn't, who knows. But hey, another Stan Lee good guy story. Apparently after the movie came out, Stanley called up Josh Trank and just to see how he was doing, just to be
Oh.
like, are you all right? Like, I was like,
Man. Fucking.
yeah,
God
which is
damn it.
something I guess Josh Trank posted about that after Stanley died and was like, yeah, like I really felt bad I let him down, but he just called me and just wanted to talk after the movie came out. Like, and and I think people might be like being like, well, what's so important about that? And like, you don't understand in Hollywood when you fuck up, everyone pretends not to know you for like 5 years, right?
Mhm.
Like, no one's your buddy for a while. And so Stanley to just actually do that is genuinely really nice to hear. Um, so I gotta give Stanley some credit for that. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, goddamn, man. Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard this, because Deadpool takes off the year after this, and they're like, "All right, we're doing that now. We're killing
yeah.
Fantastic Four sequels the moment this movie's out. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to cross over with X Men, which they tried to do with the initial X Men trilogy and the Tim Story movies before those both
Oh
started
yes,
careening off a cliff."
and I want to also mention the other big thing about this movie, just in like the grand scheme of things, is that this is like the worst era to try and make a superhero movie, which is post Dark Knight trilogy, but like pre like Avengers being fully established. Like this clearly entered production. Like they were developing this when people were like, "Oh, like we want to do Dark Knight, we want to do Batman Begins." Like that's the same thing with Man of Steel, right? Like that's when that
Mm-hmm.
entered production, and then post Avengers, it becomes clear, oh, it's the shared universe thing. The shared universe guarantees us $1 billion per movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what was happening. And that's why, like, Fantastic Four, which Fantastic Four stick, I'll just call it that because that's the easy way to call it, to separate it from the others. This was so clearly meant to be a Batman Begins take on the Fantastic Four that then turned into, oh, maybe we'll cross this over with X-Men. And then turned into, oh, we're just going to ignore it forever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like that's just
Well,
so obviously what happened here. Um,
yeah, I mean, to the point where like the reshoots were overshot by like Matthew Vaughn, Simon Kinberg, like the other X
yeah.
Men guys. I don't remember if Bryan
Mhm.
Singer was involved. But I mean, at that point, maybe if he
Mhm.
wasn't avoiding his duties on X Men Apocalypse.
Well, that's the thing. That's the problem is that like the thing that makes me believe that didn't happen is that he just doesn't show up to work a lot of the time for the things he's actually supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So
uh,
maybe not him. Um, but there was initially when Tim Miller was going to do the Deadpool sequel because he does the first one. He puts that movie together. He basically saves that character from the cinematic graveyard,
yeah.
along with Ryan Reynolds, and then gets booted, which is what happened.
Mm.
The cameo characters they were talking about doing. There's like concept art out there. Like the Thing at
Mm.
least was going to show up, if not the Fantastic characters. Like there's that gag in Deadpool 2, which I'll admit is actually pretty funny when Deadpool's like washed up and Colossus takes him to the X Mansion. And he's like, "Where are all the other X Men?" They're like, "Oh, they're out on a field trip or whatever." And then, like in the background, you see like Nicholas Holt, Beast, and all the other uh, X Men Apocalypse characters like hiding in like one of the classrooms. And he closes the door quietly. Like that's a little
That
funny. You know?
that is funny.
Yeah.
That is
But I
funny.
guess like the Fantastic Four characters were going to pop up, and then after this, they were like, "Nope." Like,
Yeah, it's that's I mean that's what happens with a movie like this because this is a genuine bomb. It isn't a like, oh, it kind of did well, right? Like or like
hmm
oh, but budgets are so bloated that this movie never would have had a chance. It's like no, this bombed. Like that movie did very poorly,
yeah.
right? Like it just
It's one of those
and
once in a generation disasters things.
yeah,
Like
and
for
it just sounds like no one had a chance making it,
no,
right? Like
yeah,
and yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, like uh when they did the Deadpool and Wolverine, there's nothing from this movie in that, right? They
no.
did they did like a Chris Evans cameo, but not anything from this movie.
hmm
Um
I think it's just too
which
toxic. Although,
eh,
as someone who doesn't care, I still like hearing about some of the occasional ideas. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool if they did that. There was like
well again,
a fan theory about like if they do the Council of Reeds, they should have Miles Teller be like the Maker as like an antagonist in a movie, and I was like, they'll never do that, but that'd be kind of
I'll
funny.
never do that. That'd be kind of cute, but also talk about a guy who like squandered any goodwill. like
Oh
uh
boy, yeah.
although like is Taylor like actually bad or is he just annoying? Like I don't want to like do like a whole thing on him, but like uh I think he was like an anti-mask guy, I think. Uh I think that happened.
He's
Um
unpleasant. Nothing.
yeah, I've heard
Nothing. I would never allege something criminal on him.
yeah.
One of the most annoying people I've ever read in an interview about. Um,
Hmm.
Definitely has punchable asshole face, and seems
Hmm.
like if you vibe with him, it seems like he's a great hang, and if you don't, uh, uh, uh he's a stereotypical jock that you think he might be given his persona.
Yeah.
Which is
That's
like
the vibe I
whatever.
got. And but like again, I don't know like here's a question. Like, not criminal, but are there stories of him just being an asshole on set? Like, I just don't know. Like, I only really know is like the press he does, and he's a very bad interview,
Yeah,
frankly.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and but
He
I don't like
sounds like
holding that
just like a
against.
jerk. He's not. I'm not
Okay,
hearing anything like throwing microphones at people or anything like that. None of that. Just like, oh, this guy's kind of an asshole. Like I don't want to be around him when we're not working.
yeah, because that was Josh. I remember Josh Trank giving an interview. He's like, I could think like the only I Miles Teller I thought would be the perfect Mister Fantastic, and then like Miles Teller interview was like, I fucking hate this character. Fuck all this shit. Like. Like that was the press for this movie.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
And it does honestly, he does feel wildly miscast.
hmm
Like it is a like what is going on there that led to him to be in this movie. Um,
I mean,
because
he was starting to take off a little bit then.
but even then, it's like yeah, but he's not Mister Fantastic,
No,
right?
no,
Like
no.
whatever Miles Teller is, it's not that.
Yeah,
Um, have they figured out what to do with him yet? It feels like the
no,
answer is no.
no.
Because like yeah I can't think of a movie where he really stands out besides Whiplash. Like Whiplash he's very good in,
Yeah,
I'm still a defender of that movie.
yeah. That's a good
um
movie. Yeah,
and
I
I
can't
just
think of
but I'm
anything.
like
He's in my least favorite movie of like the year, basically. So that doesn't help his
oh
case.
the Gorge,
The
yeah,
gorge, the fucking gorge.
yeah, Gorge.
Yeah, you just have
Oh, I'm
goofy review
sorry.
movies. That's what we're fucking coming to as a nation. The
do they hold
gorge
do they
starring
hold do
Wild
they
Killer.
hold automatic weapons in that movie?
They do hold automatic weapons in that movie.
See, I have a theory that like that you can't sell that to a general audience.
You think so?
I really think that here's the thing. when I look at it, is maybe it's just me, but like when I look at a poster and the guy's holding an automatic weapon, I'm like, I don't want to see that. Like it's like I find like I have a visceral negative reaction to it,
Well, it did very
and
well on streaming. And I think those movies
mm,
do tend to do well on streaming, but theatrically I do think you have a point.
I think there's something to it where it's just like because to me it's like when I see an automatic weapon, I think of like mass shootings, militias, and the military being where they shouldn't be,
Mhm.
right? Like I just don't think of anything positive. And it's not even like an anti-gun thing. It's just a like I associate the image of an automatic weapon with people I don't like or approve of, right?
Mhm.
You know? And it's yeah, it's so like I always find off-putting. I guess it makes sense that like with streaming kind of becoming a more talk radio era, right? Like that, like
Mhm.
that's so it makes sense it would do better on streaming. It must do well because there's all. It seems like 50 action movies come down the pipe with like that cover. So it must do something. But like I do think that held me back from liking Den of Thieves a little bit, right?
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
I do think it's just I just don't think it's cool. Like
Yeah.
it it puts me in a bad state of mind, right?
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know. Um, maybe it's the tactical armor more. Maybe it's the boring tactical armor.
Maybe. You might like Den of Thieves 2 more if you ever get around to it then, because there's
I'm
very
never
little of
watching that
that.
fuck. I'm never watching that fucking movie.
Oh, you're missing out.
No, I'm not. I saw Den of Thieves.
Boo.
I'm sorry. Den
I'm
of
a
Thieves
Den
was
of
fucking
Thieves.
boring.
No,
Den of Thieves was
no.
so fucking boring, man.
It's
Um,
it's heat
that for
for people that drink Monster Energy, which is why
it's
it
heat
rolls.
for people who like got stabbed in the eyeballs. Like, it's like heat when like you see it with someone and they like it, but then they describe the movie back to you and you're like, oh, you didn't get it at all. Like it's
Look,
like,
let me
you
make
know.
clear. It's nowhere near as good as Heat. I want to make that very clear.
Oh no, but like, you know, I was pitched it was pitched to me as dumb guy heat. And I'm like, that sounds good. And it's not that. It's just guy who didn't understand why heat worked, liking heat. Like, which is bad.
Anyways, I would recommend the Den of Thieves movie. Some other quick aborted appearances and
How
spin-offs
how far into it is the actual robbery?
for Den of Thieves 2 or 1.
No, for the first Den of Thieves.
Excuse me. God damn, excuse me. The Den of Thieves slander is kicking into my allergies. It's a while. It's like an hour and a half.
Okay, so what you want to do is you want to watch like the first 15, 20 minutes of Den of Thieves and then just skip to the robbery. Because nothing between that is of value in any capacity.
No, you gotta get to the um O'Shea Jackson Jr. stuff. Because
That's what I'm
then
saying.
you get
Like
the twist.
him being an informant. Oh, spoilers. Him being an informant has no bearing on the plot of that film whatsoever.
No, because then he pulls a fast one on everyone. He gets away. He's the thief. He's the ultimate den of
Yeah,
thief.
you could have still done that without that informant twist.
I don't know. I don't
You
know.
could have, or you could have weaved it into the narrative a little better. I was saying, get to the point where he's been abducted by the cops and they establish you're going to be an informant. Don't actually watch anything he does and then skip to the robbery.
So you're saying you liked it more than Fantastic Four First Steps?
Hmm. You know what? I think I technically did, but also I think that like the movies have very similar problems.
That's hilarious. Okay, other movie aborted appearances and spin-offs I want to mention. The Silver Surfer movie that they almost did after Rise of the Silver Surfer, obviously canceled, as well as a third Fantastic Four movie, which they had slated to come out like 2 years later, which would have also had come out like alongside the Fantastic Four X-Men movie crossover thing, which was obviously a terrible idea. In that era, that's when you get the X-Men Origins Wolverine thing, and then they get the X-Men Origins Magneto canceled. That becomes First Class. I just find that very unfortunate because it's like, wow, these people never fucking figured out their own franchise. Um, there was going to be a Doctor Doom movie at one point before the Disney buyout. Do you know about this?
Wait a minute! Holy shit! I didn't know the guy. Sorry, this is. I'm sorry for derailing your whole point. I did not know um, Julian McCann had died. The Doctor Doom.
Oh yeah, You know what? Thank you for bringing that up. We should have given
He,
him his flowers.
he
He was just
died
in a
like a month
movie this
ago.
year called The Surfer, which people really responded to, really loved. I haven't seen it yet, but he's supposed to be great in it. Um, it seems like a consummate professional, very talented actor. Um, Movies aren't his fault. So
Yeah.
yeah, rest in
No, yeah,
peace.
like I was just shocked. I did not know that had happened because I was
No,
like, what? I wonder where that guy's been because he was like on Nip Tuck, like he was big in the for a moment there, right?
uh
Like,
huh,
uh, that's a shame. Yeah, genuinely, that's sad. Um, hmm.
yeah.
Wow. Sorry to derail your whole point. I just was
No,
I
no, it's
was
fine.
totally
No,
unaware that that had happened.
no, really. Thank
Um,
you for bringing it up. We should have brought it up at the top. Yeah, good actor. Um, Sorry he's gone. Let's see what
how do you
else.
pronounce the name of the guy who played Mr. Fantastic in those movies?
Let me take a look at it again. Um, Yon Grifo.
Hmm. I'm sure that's the right way to say it.
Yoven? Yon Grifo. I know it's not Grufford. It's like Grifo.
Mhm.
I know that for sure. Anything else I'm not really certain of.
I'm saying he's going through a very messy divorce, unfortunately.
Oh,
Uh,
apologies.
it looks like he was the victim of domestic violence, though, which is
Oh,
unfortunate.
shoot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
I hope he's doing all right.
yeah. Who knows what's going on there? Looks not good. He was in Bad Boys, Ride or Die.
Yeah, he's the bad guy. He's
What?
the surprise
That was
villain.
him.
Yeah.
That was him. Wow, that movie was boring.
No,
Um,
boo. Bad Boys Ride or Die. Movie of 2024.
I'm sorry, man.
It's fine.
I'm not doing it with these fucking movies that are like, oh, it's actually like it's we're so back, and I'm like, no, we're not. Um, there's a picture of him at Comic Con for some reason, and he looks very unhappy to be there.
Oh.
Uh,
Well, he's British.
he was Tony Blair in W.
Wow. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, so did you know there was going to be a Doctor Doom movie at one point?
I did not actually know that one. I knew the Surfer movie. I mentioned Doug Jones, who did the body for the Surfer in Rise of the Silver Surfer, brought it up at that New York Comic Con panel I was at, being like, "Don't ask me questions because I don't know." Like, but yeah, I did not know
um,
there was going to be a Doctor Doom movie though.
yeah, but it wasn't going to be related to the Tim Story ones, and it wasn't going to be related to the 2015 one. It was going to be a standalone, like, tragedy written and directed by Noah Hawley, everyone's favorite right now.
Oh yeah,
How's
you
that
know what?
Alien
We got
Earth?
everyone. Here's the thing. All right, everyone who worked at 20th Century Fox on these type of movies in that last like 5 to 10 years before the Disney buyout, they're all suspect as hacks, as far as I'm concerned,
Mm-hmm.
because it just sounds like these were all people willing to say yes to everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sound like a single person with a creative bone in their body was working in that area at the time.
And you'd probably be right. Will that come back to bite me in the ass? I don't know, but we'll
How much
see.
is Simon Kinberg even doing anything right now?
You're gonna be so mad. You're gonna be
What's
so
he doing?
mad.
Oh,
I
he's on a
mean,
he's got a Star Wars thing, right? Like,
they got him tapped to write a trilogy, the next
yeah, but
trilogy.
that won't happen.
I agree, but the news was like they were really pushing it for a second because first it got leaked and then it was like, yeah, we're really doing that, and now I'm like, okay, you're probably not. So I'm chill. I'm chilling.
Mm.
But
Yeah, I feel like he's just in that. I feel like he's just one of those guys who's in that space. I'll say this: I do think one thing that might be saving Star Wars from going full trash is that Kathleen Kennedy does actually have good taste.
mm-hmm.
Like, I think she is someone who's like she can sense like, oh, this isn't working. So if he's gonna do that, she'll at least whip it into shape because it's not like he's only attached to bad projects, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I do think right now Star Wars needs someone with like a really good vision, and he definitely doesn't have that. So
yeah. Same, same. Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But
He's producing The Running Man.
oh yeah, I actually think it looks good. I like Edgar Wright.
I do too, but man, um, feels
Oh,
like they're
not feeling
dumping
this
that
one.
one. That just feels like they're dumping it.
Hmm.
Also, I'm a little suspect of anything Paramount right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I guess this is like the last wave of actual quality Paramount stuff, if you want to
Yeah.
call it that.
Oh
So,
fuck, that's right. That's like the last Paramount movie.
mm.
Oh shit. We don't have time to unpack all that. We've been here for over three
Are we,
hours.
well, are we? Is Paramount over? Or are they just going to be like? Is it still Paramount? Just like Paramount Skydance?
I think it'll be Paramount Skydance. It's not over. It's just like that's the last like vestige of what came before. You
Yeah, I
know.
feel like they're going to fire everyone and they're going to put new people. I think it's just going to have an HBO Max arc, though.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Was it like we're
the,
now Max? Oh wait, it turns out
yeah,
no one knows what that is. So let's go back to
yeah,
HBO.
we're now Skydance. Wait, I just feel like that's going to happen.
The boomers start rioting at the theaters. We want Paramount. We want Paramount. Everyone's like, what the
Exactly.
fuck? Like, you guys know about Paramount?
Oh,
Um,
Paramount Skydance launches tomorrow
oh
officially.
boy. Oh, so the day this episode comes out?
Yeah.
That's
All
fucking,
right.
that's crazy. That's like actually
I know we're all
crazy.
look. I know we're all looking forward to it.
I love my content. Yum, 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 yum,
Uh,
yum, yum. I eat it
I'm
up.
glad they made that deal, that $1 billion deal with the South Park guys, so they can have South Park on Paramount Plus.
Oh my god. Okay, we will wrap up right now, but I have to fucking tell you this.
Mm.
So, I was at Comic Con. I'm in line for the Toxic Avenger screening because I want to see that movie, and I liked it. Uh, but in line for that movie, it's a trauma production. The type of people in line, I don't know what their vibe's gonna be. It could lean one way, it could
Uh,
lean another. Then I meet this guy named Chris. Chris, if you for some reason you're listening to this, you found this. Great meeting you. Awesome talking to you. It was his first Comic Con, so we're like kind of bonding over. Like he's done all the East Coast stuff. I just do the LA and San Diego one, and I was like, oh, that's cool, whatever. And then he pulls up like, oh, do you see that South Park episode? And I was like, no. And I saw
oh my
clips,
God.
and I was like, okay, where is this going? Because that was the Trump Devil episode, right? And then
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, they really let the orange Cheeto have it on there. And I was like, oh, okay, whew, sigh of relief, wipe the sweat off my brow,
Yeah.
right? And so we just start going in, being like, fuck this guy, fuck Trump and all that stuff, right? And then I'm like, oh man, we're raising our voices. And I'm noticing people are looking at us now in line.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, where's this going? And then I see like someone and their girlfriend like poke their head out from around other people. And they're like, hey, I just want to say, like, we saw that episode last night. Like, that was really fucking funny. Fuck that guy. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And then someone else walks over. I'm like, oh geez, here we go. And they're like, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say, like, yeah, thanks for saying that. Like, that guy's such a fucking asshole. Like, they're really letting him have it on there, like just, and everyone starts chiming in, like, yeah. And I was like, did I just like radicalize the people in line for a trauma movie? Do we have to like march on the Capitol now? Like, what's the vibe here? Do we have to become the Toxic Avengers? Like, it
So
was just,
let's hope the Comic Con bubble doesn't strike again.
yeah. No, no,
No, but
this
I will
one.
say that that does seem to be the general reaction to the South Park thing. That it's been like the people who like haven't been willing to be like fuck this guy are finally like fuck this guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I don't think anyone's opinions have really changed. I just think that people who weren't comfortable voicing their opinion are now more comfortable voicing it.
Yeah.
So,
That question
but
about
who
whether or
knows?
not art can change the world? It turns out South Park might be the answer to it.
Well, that's here's the thing they've hinted because did you see the whole thing? We're literally
No, I
the other
haven't.
thing is that the next episode, the second episode of the season of South Park airs tonight, and it could just be like we're back to being our boring, middle of the road self. Like that could totally happen right now, or they could continue this war with Paramount. And let's make no mistake: as much as they're going after Trump, this is their war with Paramount. They're really
Yeah.
pissed off at them. But so I don't know which way it could go. Uh, but the end of that episode is the Trump deep fake promo they did where a fat, naked, sweaty Trump crawls to the desert and his penis is hanging out and it's really tiny. Um,
Jesus
and
Christ.
yeah, it's insane that they kind of got away with it. Like even for me, it's like South Park kind of can just do whatever. Like even I'm like Jesus, that's pretty intense. But it starts with a because remember like part of the Paramount deal is that they have to do some pro-Trump messaging or something like that,
Hmm.
like on their network. That's part of the deal. And uh, so at the start, so that's how the episode ends. It's like South Park makes an agreement with Trump. We have to do some pro-Trump messaging, and it says at the start, South Park Trump ad 1 of 50, indicating that it's the first one.
Oh my
Now
god.
it could literally just be the only one they do, or because the 50 is that's the deal they made with Paramount is to do 50 more episodes. So
Hmm.
that's like 5 more seasons. But that could also be an indication of what they're planning on doing. And if they are, I don't want to give them too much credit. Again, we'll probably have the answer by the time this episode comes out. But if I don't want to give the South Park guys too much credit because they are now billionaires because they got $1 billion. Like they're rich guys, whatever. Uh, they it seems genuinely strategic to be like, oh, Paramount wants to do all this pro-Trump messaging. Well, now they're going to have to do that between episodes of South Park, which will now feature quote unquote pro-Trump messaging, which is just there to humiliate him, right?
Hmm.
Like that now, if they like, we're one of the highest rated shows in the Paramount network. If they want to put pro-Trump commercials between us, then they'll have to do it with our bullshit attached to it. So, um, it could be an interesting play if that's what they're really going for. I don't know how totally invested they are, but it did seem like they genuinely care about this stuff that's going on. So,
Hmm.
uh, we'll see.
Oh, we'll
Um,
see. Frankly, I can't think of a
maybe
better
the
outro than that news and seeing how it plays out.
maybe
So,
maybe the real Fantastic Four were Stan, Kyle, Kenny, and Cartman.
wow, wow. All right, that was good. That was good. Matt, thanks for joining me on this nearly
You do
4 hour
realize
episode.
by the time this comes out, South Park could be like, yeah, but we're still kind of transphobic. Like
Yeah,
that could totally be the South Park episode that comes out between now and then.
yeah. I know. Matt and Trey are like get on a stage and like make no mistake, folks. We are
Make no mistake,
racist.
make no mistake, we're still just kind of assholes. Like
Yeah,
we kind of don't care about anything. We just do dumb jokes.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. I'm not throwing the chips down like Matt and Trey comrades. Like definitely not. But the
they'll
wins where
definitely
we can get
never.
them feel very good right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it would
Yeah.
just be interesting if they keep hammering at Trump and Trump does genuinely try to take South Park off the air because that would be interesting to watch play out.
It would.
Um,
It would. Hey, look, dude. Like any hits we can get against them right now are pretty cool in my book.
yeah.
So until proven otherwise.
See, I will say I do think he's getting hit a lot. It's just that he has the power right now, right?
Hmm.
Like it's just how much damage can he do before it gets wrestled away from him,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I do think they can. I do think so, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, we can do it. And
Yeah.
hey, I will say that's the other thing I do like about this fucking Fantastic Four first step. I do like the image of global cooperation that's presented in it. Like, I did
Hmm.
like that scene, and I'm like, yeah, that's what we should be doing about global warming.
Yeah. We'll get there.
That would be a good. That would be a good gag at the start of Doomsday when Mr. Fantastic's like, "Oh, well, I'm sure you guys. How did like replacing everything with green energy go? Like, I'm sure you guys saw that global warming thing coming and stopped it before it got too bad." And then someone in the background is like, "Yeah, about that. Never mind."
No, we can't do that because of logistics.
Yeah, it's like what logistics. We literally just made like a teleportation device in like a weekend. And it's like, well.
Matt, thanks for joining me. You're on Blue Sky?
Yes, I'm on Blue Skies Emperor OTN. I kind of like, I'm. Someone made this post recently that is Blue Sky is kind of the perfect social media website because it's boring, so I'm not like addicted to it. So
Hmm.
I'm only on there because lately my shit's been blowing up with like lib Blue Sky. So
Mm.
um, I made some anti AI posts recently, and they're like, yeah, and they should stop this. I got a lot of posts like responses like that. So. Uh, you
And
know,
I
eh,
agree too.
yeah. So go on Blue Sky if you want. It doesn't matter these days. Really. Definitely I'll pop in on Twitter every now and then, but it doesn't matter at all. Like I'm barely there.
Mhm.
Um, so uh, so if I missed some important thing in your life and you only announced it on Twitter, that's why I missed it. I'm not on Twitter. So
And you can find me at the links down below, the Waffle Press, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Patreon. Uh, get some. I got 2 episodes I got to share after this, so go check those out when those are up on the Patreon. I want to do more live streaming. I made a vow to do Resident Evil 8 for the first time on Twitch.
yeah, we've
I'll be
talked about streaming. We'll figure something out there. We will.
yeah
Like
yeah
I think stuff got a little rocky for both of us for the past couple months. So
Yeah.
um,
It's kind of funny. I had people recently check on me and be like, "Oh, you okay?" And I was like, "Oh no, I crashed out months ago. I'm actually okay now." Like,
yeah. No,
yeah,
same. I finally I have that happen all the time too, where people are like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm good now."
yeah. They sincerely thank you for checking in. Like, a friend treated me to dinner recently, and I was like, "Oh, this was very kind. I really appreciate that. It's nice to know you care." And not that I was ever in question. Just no, I'm good.
That
uh,
being said, I do question all of your loyalties constantly.
yeah, that's
Everyone out
valid.
there, I do think that you are conspiring against me at all times.
Well, I did get you to watch Den of Thieves, so.
Yeah, I mean, look at the damage that has befallen me as a result.
So thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.
Bye.